It's Locked On Giants Live, coming to you on a special night as Traina, and the dog get you ready for Thursday's big Giants-Dallas showdown at Big D. That's coming your way next.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of the Locked On Giants podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Giants Live. You got Entertainah and the dog. We are here on a special night, and we're going to try and make sense of what happened on Sunday. And gosh, we're going to try and make sense. Oh, I got a date. Nice.
Yeah, good start.
Try and make sense on what's going on tomorrow because the Giants got a lot of injuries. Not the best topic to talk about, but we got to do it. Everybody, welcome to the podcast. Dog, Tana, let's do this. We got a lot to talk about, as always.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah,
and folks, you could tell.
A little more somber today.
Dog in particular is kind of down in the dumps. I'm sure Tana's a little down in the dumps. Guys, what the heck happened on Sunday? I mean, how could the Giants? It's almost like we talked about the trap game, and it's almost like I don't want to say we jinxed them, but gosh, that was bad.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, we talked about a trap game, and I maybe it was a trap game, maybe it wasn't. We had a ton of injuries, and it was just so reminiscent of the Cowboys game earlier in the year for me. I mean, you go back and look. I think Daniel Jones was pressured 25 times against the Cowboys. He was pressured 19 times this past week, 4 days ago against the Detroit Lions, and it was much of the same. We got dominated up at the point of attack. Obviously had some turnovers. We know this team can't win when they turn over the football. Jones had that one really bad interception. The other one was a fourth down, 4th and 5. I didn't really like the play call before that when they ran the ball on 3rd and 6. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So the 4th and 5 to me was almost like a punt, but that one interception was really bad and really costly, being that it happened deep in our own territory. And then obviously the fumble by Hodgins. And we made a ton of other bad mistakes. You had the bad penalty on defense early in the game with Jimenez when he hit the guy in the face. Which gave them 3 points. And we were just sloppy. It was our sloppiest game we've played all year, had a ton of injuries. And now, now we got a really tough matchup against Dallas with basically practice squad players and Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. We'll see what they could do tomorrow.
Yeah, for me, every facet of the game was bad. We haven't really seen that. The Giants have won games by executing and being sharp, and we're not going to out-talent a lot of teams. We just don't have that kind of roster, but we've won by executing and not making mistakes. And we lost a turnover battle 3-0 against Detroit. That's something we were one of the best in the league at, was the turnover differential. Chris mentioned the throw where Daniel Jones didn't see Aiden Hutchinson drop back into coverage. And that was kind of a momentum shift. We had the lead at that time, and we maybe could have got up by 2 scores. And it happens. I mean, Eli Manning had those passes too, where linebacker or defensive end in this case drops back. And it was a nice play by Hutchinson, but Jones even admitted he didn't see him. But it wasn't just that. I mean, we dropped passes. We missed tackles. We had 7 penalties in the first half, and Dan Campbell declined 2 of them. So we actually had 9 penalties, but 7 were accepted. Chris mentioned Hodgins' fumble, the play calling. I didn't like very much either. I thought that they should have ran Daniel Jones a little more. It was obvious to me that Detroit was selling out to stop Saquon. And when Daniel Jones did use his legs, it was pretty successful. And I thought the coaching staff for the first time this year did have a bad game. And that happens. And then on top of all of that, the injury to Adoree Jackson, to me, that took the wind out of my sails in that game. The injuries, I don't like losing. I hate when they lose. But I can say, okay, we had a bad game. Detroit played really well. You give them credit. But, man, them injuries are so deflating to me. Like, I just hate that. Now we're going into Dallas without Adoree Jackson, without Azeez Ojulari, without Evan Neal, without Wan'Dale Robinson, who tore his ACL. It's just, I don't know how many injuries a team can sustain. It's unbelievable. McKinney had the ATV accident, and I don't even know who's left in the team. The only good thing in that entire game to me was Kenny Galladay caught the 2 passes they threw to him. That was it.
For the Bronx cheer. Yep.
Right. Even Lawrence Cage, he dropped a 2-point conversion. Not that it mattered much at that time. Oh, and Graham Gano missed 2 extra points. So
Graham Gano was sick, though.
Was bad this week.
Graham Gano was really, really sick. He shouldn't have played, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
He said after the game he got 4 IVs and he was wearing a mask. And at first I thought, oh my God, he's got COVID or something. But no, he had there was a flu going around the locker room, still going around the locker room, from what I understand, as of earlier this week. But what I didn't like about the game, and I'm going to start with the Adoree Jackson punt return. I witnessed Jason Sehorn, as I'm sure a lot of you did, and I still have nightmares about that. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're putting your best cornerback. Okay. Not to mention you're thin at that position to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then Fabian Moreau now is not going to play, your other starting cornerback. What were they thinking? I guess they're like, well, we didn't figure, that there would be an injury, but still there's a risk. And I get it. It's football. I get it that injuries happen, but it's almost like buying an extra lottery ticket and increasing your chances of getting injured. And I just didn't think it was necessary. So I really disagreed with that. Yeah. And then, Dog, you mentioned a point that I totally agree with, and that is when the Lions were stopping Saquon Barkley on the ground, why not more design runs for Daniel Jones? It was almost like they didn't account for Daniel. They didn't have to account for Daniel. It was like 11 versus 10. And I'm like, what are we doing here? So yeah. I got to admit, that whole game from top to bottom, the players, the coaching, just everything was like El Stinko.
Yeah,
it really was like I don't want to say they did, but we talked about that, I think, a couple weeks ago before, when we were going against Houston, saying the Houston game is not so much a concern as the Detroit one is. Mm-hmm. And now in a short week, we play a team that just blew Minnesota out 40-3. The game was so bad, CBS went to the Steelers and Bengals. And so, hey, you never know. Dallas isn't immune to having a game like we did last week. It's a divisional game. I'm talking myself into this one.
Yeah, well, somebody's got dogs.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But the thing that hurt so much about the Adoree thing is it was preventable. Yeah. Now maybe he would have gotten hurt doing something else. And I'm not mad at what Dable said after the game, because I want my coach to show confidence in the decisions that he makes. I know a lot of fans got on him for that. I'm not mad about that. But I think this was the first time since he's been the Giants head coach that you could really be mad at Brian Dable. And the way I'm looking at it from an optimistic standpoint, he's a rookie head coach. He's young, and hopefully this is a learning experience. Hopefully this is something that he learns from and he doesn't do again. I still think he's done a tremendous job this year, but with as thin as we are at that position, like you said, Patty, it made no sense to have him back there fielding punts. It just makes no sense whatsoever. If he was that dynamic, he should have been the punt returner from the start of the year. If you felt like he was going to make that big of a difference over a guy like Richie James. So the fact that he was your backup guy, you could have went with so many other guys, whether it be calling up Pimpleton, whether it be going with, I don't know, Brightwell, somebody else, somebody that if he goes down is not going to impact the team in as big of a way as Adoree Jackson going down is. So, I thought that was a bad job by Dable. But like I said, hopefully it's a learning experience.
All right, they should have just told him to go back there and just fair catch.
Fair catch it. Yeah, we were saying that before we went on. Yeah. Now, we have all these injuries. All right, let's talk about this and try not to get sick, guys. I apologize in advance if this is going to upset anybody, but we got to talk about this. The offensive line. Dog, what are you doing tomorrow? Can you fly down to Dallas and suit up? I mean, seriously. They've got so many more guys out. Neal's not going to play, which we kind of knew, given the short work week and the way the week was structured with no real practices. They did walkthroughs. No Feliciano. All right. So Gates is going to go in at center. The left guard, both Azudu and Lemieux. Lemieux back with the toe again. I don't know if he re-aggravated what he had or whatnot, but that's back again. So you figure Jack Anderson will probably go in there at left guard, would be my guess. And then who's going to play right tackle? Is Tyree Phillips going to be okay to go, or are they going to have to go with Matt Parrott? So they brought up some guys from the practice squad. They had to make some roster moves, which they did today. And I don't know about you, but we spoke about this. Actually, no, we didn't speak about this, but the chemistry. I talked about the chemistry and just bringing in, upsetting the apple cart just for the heck of it. Bringing in Lemieux, and I asked Abel about that, and he just kind of, they're in the meetings together. They get a ton of reps, blah blah blah. I'm sorry, it's not the same as when the pellets are flying at you for real. I just don't buy it, and I'm like, why make the change? I mean, granted, Azuda was struggling, but if he is your starter moving forward, you gotta, this is an evaluation year. Right now, they're playing on house money. Why not just stick with the kid, let him work through his hiccups, and see if he can handle it? Why pull him out for Lemieux? I didn't get that.
Yeah, Dable had a bad day. I mean, look, it happens. He's been really good all year, but this was mistake after mistake. I get them all out of the way in one game, I guess. I'd rather it be that way. Lemieux was not very good either. I don't think he was any better than Azudu had been.
He had a 0 pass block grade.
Yeah.
Did he?
Well, he allowed the one sack. He had, I think, 4 quarterback hits, I think it was.
We gave up 19 pressures as a team.
Right. Well, I think he had 4 of them. I mean, he got benched at halftime. What does that tell you?
Yeah, he just was. Maybe they were evaluating him too. I mean, I don't know. Like,
and Dave was saying, well, we wanted to see Azudu. You've been seeing Azudu for weeks. Come on.
I meant wanted to see the thing. Like maybe they wanted to evaluate him. I don't know why they made that move either.
I don't understand. It upset the apple cart. It really, you had the chemistry.
It upset my stomach too. I can tell you that.
And not for nothing. It didn't affect Andrew Thomas, because Andrew Thomas now, he's a rock. But I go back to what he said about his rookie season when he played next to however many left guards it was. Don't think for a second that doesn't upset the apple cart when you're playing with a different guy. And now all of a sudden, okay, how is he going to react when the pellets are flying for real? I just don't get it. So the coaches, their message to everybody is, let's flush it. But here we are. We don't know for sure what the offensive line is going to look like, let alone hold up. And the starting cornerbacks, both of them are not playing. No Jackson, no Moreau. He's been declared out. Who are you going to put at cornerback, and how's that going to affect the pass rush? Anybody got any ideas?
Nope.
No clue.
No.
I don't even know we're on the depth chart at this time.
It's slim pickings right now. It's slim pickings right now at all those positions. And it's incredible to me. And I looked at the stats today on my way home from work. It's incredible to me. When you factor in how good Andrew Thomas is, it's incredible to me just how this offensive line is still as bad as it is. The Giants have given up the 2nd most hurries in football, and they've given up the 4th most sacks. And that's with Daniel Jones throwing probably less than any other quarterback in football. Mm-hmm. So it's just incredible to me how bad this offensive line still is and how much work still needs to be done. Now, I know Evan Neal is going to be good. He's going to grow. He's going to get good. But the Giants are not done yet. They still need to attack that offensive line heavily this offseason. They need a center. They need a guard. They need to continue to address that in the coming drafts until such time that this is a good unit.
I think they will. I think I'm pretty sure, people said, oh, Daniel Jones ain't coming back. And, there's Giants fans that don't want him back. And they'll point at an interception. I think Daniel Jones has shown enough. We've talked about a 3-year deal for Daniel Jones. If I feel like the coaching staff could say, hey, man, the kid can win games. We're 7-3 with the players that we have out there. If we build the offensive line around it, give him a couple of years. That's why you give him a 3-year deal. You go out for 2 years, you build the offensive line to get him a number 1 receiver and a number 2 receiver to get him pieces around him. You don't have to, you work on signing Saquon, you work on signing Deion Jones, you got to address the quarterback and running back. So you build those other places, and then you see if he can succeed with that. And then if he can't, it's a 3-year deal, then you move on. But, the fact that we're 7-3 with what he's had to throw to, the year he's had where, I know he threw a couple of interceptions. He'd only thrown 2 interceptions coming in that whole game,
and
year.
One I think was a fluke, right?
Right. It was like at the end of the game against Dallas. He, Sill slipped down and he threw an interception. So I feel like he's taking care of the ball well. I feel like he's grown a lot, especially his confidence, even though he is still getting mangled and running for his life back there.
Mhm.
But if you can get him some protection and get him a dynamic wide receiver, if he can't do it with that, then okay, that's why you give him a short-term contract and you say, okay, well, he didn't do it, and now we have to move on. But I think if you give him a couple of years and get some more talent around him, then I do think he can get even better, especially if he's under this system for a couple of years and he grows to understand it more.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's talk about Saquon and what the Lions did to stop him and how I fear the Cowboys are going to copy that. All right. So
Yeah.
the way I saw it is that the action, if you will, was coming at the second level. I didn't see the Giants offensive line really able to win their battles at the second level. So Saquon just had nowhere to go. So he
Nowhere.
was getting runs of 1 yard, 2 yards. Some cases guys were whiffing on their blocks. He was getting thrown for a loss, no gain, whatever. Good job by the Lions because you figure, oh, load the box up. I don't think they loaded the box up all that much, if I remember correctly. I want to say maybe like a handful of times, maybe 4 times total in the game. So they were winning at the second level. And the Cowboys, you look at the Cowboys, they got speed at that second
Oh,
level.
Ugh.
Going to get up against that makeshift offensive line now, again, I'm just speculating on what the lineup's going to look like. Hopefully Andrew Thomas will be okay. He's listed as questionable with an illness. You've got left guard. I think, like I said, I think it's going to be Jack Anderson. Nick Gates should be the center. Glowinski's going to be the right guard, and either Phillips or Parrott at right tackle, depending on how Phillips is with that neck injury. I'm concerned about that second level, those guys climbing to the second level
of
and
course.
doing their thing.
Listen, I think the Giants offense is super predictable, and it was only a matter of time before the running game starts to get stood up. It was inevitable. I also think the fact Bellinger helped a lot in the run game, was a very good run blocker, and I don't think it's a coincidence that you've seen the running production go down significantly since he went down with the injury. I think that definitely hurt Saquon Barkley in the running game in general, but it's not going to be easy. And maybe the way that you alleviated a bit, like Bad Dog was saying earlier, start to use Daniel Jones's legs more, start to get the defense to pay attention more to him. If he becomes more of a factor, maybe that helps take some of the pressure off of Saquon Barkley. But with the weapons that we got at the wide receiver and with the offensive line that Daniel Jones is provided with in terms of pass protection, the Giants are very limited offensively. It's not pretty right now.
Yeah. You said, Patty, you were concerned about them getting to the second level. I'm concerned about Daniel Jones. I mean, the Cowboys put 25 pressures on him, and that's the most since they kept that stat of any quarterback. And you just saw what they did to Minnesota. You just saw what they did to Kirk Cousins. And I can remember the game before they played the Giants. They destroyed Joe Burrow and the Bengals up front. I think they sacked Burrow 9. It was something insane. And I remember just watching that game going, oh, my God, I can't imagine what they're going to do to us. And unfortunately, we don't match up. We don't match up well with Dallas when we're healthy. And that's what scares me. I was more concerned about Dallas than Philadelphia. I felt like we kind of match up. Philadelphia's run defense isn't great. Now they added Sue and they added Linval Joseph because they understand that. But I still think you can run on Philly. Dallas is a much tougher team to run against because of that athletic front seven. You got guys like Marcus, Micah Parsons, and you got guys like DeMarcus Lawrence. So, I
think that I still think, and I thought it before Dak got back, I think Dallas is the class of the division. I think they're better than the Eagles. I know that the Eagles beat them when they played. I think Dallas
Rush started that game too.
Yeah, I think Dallas is the best team in this division.
I do too. From top to bottom, I do think they are the best. I think the Eagles are very good. I'm not taking anything away from Philadelphia, but I do think the next time Dallas and Philly play, you'll see a different result. Number one, Dak is there, and number two, it's in Dallas. So I think it'll be different. But the combination of Pollard and Zeke, that scares me too. Pollard is an explosive guy.
Pollard, I think, is better than Zeke at this point.
At this point, yeah, I agree. Zeke is really good at picking up run blitz or blitzes too. It's probably something very underrated aspect of what Ezekiel Elliott can do. But Dallas is a pretty complete team. CeeDee Lamb is one of the best, and it's this. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. There's just no other way to put it. It's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, and to think if they add a certain former Giant receiver, I spoiler alert, I have my crossover show that I taped this morning with Marcus Mosher of LockedOn Cowboys, And I'm like, where exactly would Odell fit if the Cowboys signed him? Because I think the Cowboys receivers are really, I'd love to have those receivers.
Right.
He goes, well, CD Lamb isn't a number one receiver, contrary to what people think. And I'm like, oh, so that was interesting. But
That
that's
is
just
interesting. If he's not the
I
number one
just thought
receiver,
that was
what
an
is?
interesting thing. But a lot of people, they're like, I see some of the comments, they're like, why is everybody worried about center with Nick Gates? I'm not worried about Nick Gates. I'm worried about the rest of the line. I know Nick will do a good job with the calls and everything like that. And you saw him out there pushing guys around and being the bully that he is on the field. I'm a little concerned with the rest of that line and the chemistry, the overall chemistry, because there's something to be said about that. You can line up next to the guy and know without communicating verbally what that guy is thinking, what he's going to do, how is he going to react in a certain situation. Now, all of a sudden, you got a brand new guy next to you. And yeah, you're in the meetings and, maybe you do some practice field. And remember, guys, they did walkthroughs all week, not in pads, not even a full practice, walkthroughs. So not a good time to have to shake up the offensive line, injuries or otherwise.
Yeah, it's just.
I just hope the Giants do what they always do. They completely surprise us. Half the time they completely surprise us the other way. Hopefully it's in a good way this time, because I was very convinced we were going to beat Detroit. I did not expect the effort that we put forth. Hopefully it's the reverse this time and they surprise us and they beat the Cowboys, because right now I don't see it.
Yeah, hopefully the Cowboys, like I said, hopefully the Cowboys put up a bad one like we did. If we're going to win this game, if we have any chance, we have to win the turnover battle. We have to force turnovers.
We got to win the turnover battle by 2.
Yeah, we have to force turnovers to get the ball deep in their territory. Like that, those are the things we have to do. And little things like, when Gillen punts the ball, you got to pin them deep. If you're punting from midfield or from your own 4, you got to pin them inside the 10. We can't have these kicks out of bounds at the 31.
Inconsistent. Right. I've been screaming about that. Then he calmed down. He was doing all right. Inconsistent.
He sucks. I'm sorry.
I saw it in the spring, and then he got a little bit better.
I'm not a fan of him.
But he's got
you
no
get what you
touch.
paid for, though, Pat. You get what you paid for. We paid for the cheapest punter money you could buy. He's got a cool nickname. He's got a strong leg.
A big leg, yeah.
Yeah.
But no touch.
No touch. Can't pin you inside the 20. Not a fan. We got to get a better punter next year.
Totally agree. Yeah. All right, guys,
They should have drafted Jake Camarda.
Guys, I want to talk about the pass rush and Thibodeau, because again, a lot of people are like, what's going on with the pass rush? And, people are ragging on Thibodeau. And, it all works hand in hand. And you got to, I'm giving this kid a pass for this year, given that he started off with the injury and everything like that. And you could see that he's still working on developing a plan, but there's also that there are times when he influences the game. So I'm not ready to panic about Thibodeau, because people are like, oh, well, look at Aiden Hutchinson. He totally wrecked the game, and what did Thibodeau do? I don't know. I mean, you can't make it a true apples to apples comparison, I don't think, here, right? I mean, what do you guys think?
I think Aiden Hutchinson was a better player coming out of college. I mean, we didn't have a chance at Aiden Hutchinson.
But he didn't have an injury to start the year.
Right. We didn't have a chance at him. So I don't know why they would compare them. I think if the Giants had to choose, and you saw Hutchinson having this kind of year and we took Thibodeau, and you saw Hutchinson's production, I would understand the fan base going, oh, why didn't we do it? I get it. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's been an interesting year. We're 7-3, and a lot of fans I see on Twitter and YouTube, and they're still not happy. And I understand maybe a lot of them are just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And then, we have this game against Detroit, and they're like, yep, see, here we go. And I understand, man. 22 games in 5 years we won. I deal with it too. But I'm just enjoying the ride. I'm enjoying the fact we've won 7 games already. We're right in the playoff picture. Like I said, the injuries are what kill me more than anything else when we don't have our guys going forward. And they're serious injuries. It's not like it's a pulled hamstring or you're in concussion protocol, you miss a week. We're talking torn ACLs, 2 torn Achilles tendons between, Colin Johnson and Sterling Shepard. We lose Wan'Dale Robinson.
Sprained MCL.
Adoree Jackson sprained MCL. It's unbelievable. But I just think some Giants fans just, and I'm an impatient guy by nature. I definitely am. But I think that some fans are impatient. Just like, I want to see this guy. Why doesn't he have 10 sacks already? So sometimes the expectations are unrealistic. And if Thibodeau was having this kind of production in year 3, then I could see people going, this guy missed. They missed. But like you said, it's a rookie season. He started off with an injury. I want to give him a little bit more time than 6 games or whatever he's played to make a decision on that.
Yeah, he's played 8 games, and he hasn't even played a half season's worth of games. I'm going to give you guys 3 names. Tell me if you think they were good players. Michael Strahan.
Yeah.
Pretty good, right?
Pretty good.
Jason Pierre-Paul.
He's not bad.
Okay. And then I'm going to give you Osi Manure.
Yeah.
All got off to slow starts.
6.5 sacks between the 3 of them if you add it all up in their rookie years.
Yeah.
So people that are going strictly off of sack numbers, Thibodeau is not asked just to strictly rush the quarterback either. He's in this defense. They ask him to drop back in coverage at times. He's not asked strictly to be a pass rusher, and he doesn't have Azeez Ojulari on the other side, so he's getting double teamed a lot. He's getting held a lot.
He did draw a holding call this time.
He did finally draw a holding call.
Yeah.
But listen, you got to give this guy a lot more time. We've seen we saw Dexter Lawrence develop a lot more this year. We've seen Julian Love develop a lot more this year. Not every player develops at the same rate. Also, tack on that Kayvon Thibodeau missed a whole year in college due to the pandemic, where they didn't play football in Oregon. So I think fans need to show their role. The ability, the potential is there. And if you believe in this coaching staff, from which we've seen so far this year, you have to think they're going to develop him into at least a good football player for this team for a very long time. So I'm not worried about Kayvon at all.
Right. Ready for a hot take?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
2 sacks by Kayvon Thibodeau in this game.
Wow.
I'm digging it.
I'll take it.
There you go. That's the hot take. He will get 2 sacks in this game.
All right. I'll take it. Absolutely. I mean, gosh, I see in the chat, people are like, okay, we need at least 3 wins to secure the playoffs. I would feel better with 4, but where are the 3 wins coming from? I mean, this obviously, I think you'd like to get a win against Dallas because now you erase the head-to-head tiebreaker advantage. But where do you guys see the wins coming from? At least 3 wins to have a chance. I still say they've got to do 4 to really,
I think 3 gets us in. I think 10-7 would get us in.
I would feel better with 4.
Of course, you'd feel better
because of the tiebreakers.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the tiebreakers, but let's say 3. Where do you see the 3 wins coming?
If they're gonna get 3, it's gonna come the Colts game, 2 Washington games. Yeah, you're gonna those 3.
You think Washington?
I'm not predicting that. I think we're gonna split with Washington, but if they're gonna get 3. I think
Minnesota's 1-2. I think we're on the same level as Minnesota. I really do. Minnesota won a lot of
with these injuries, though. I don't know about with these injuries.
Yeah,
but I mean, we played Minnesota. What the second to last game of the season, or is it? I always get where we're.
Yeah,
playing.
I think it is.
I think it is.
No, or is it? We play them Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah,
and then we play the Colts, and then we play Philly. So it's but we might be healthier. Hopefully we have Evan Neal and Azeez Ojulari back by then, and.
Ojulari, I thought would be back by Dallas. But, at least that's what I had heard. But then somebody told me because of the practice schedule, I think they're looking for the following week to get him back. So he's not that far away. Evan Neal is not that far away from what I heard. Again, that's barring any setbacks. So help is coming. It's just not going to be here by tomorrow.
And you never know. Listen, Philadelphia is not perfect anymore. So if they beat Dallas again and they've locked up the division, that could be our win.
It could be.
I'm sure they would love to knock us the hell out. And I would love to knock them out too. I would, of course, it's a division game. But like I said, if you have a chance to rest your guys, maybe play them a quarter, and you say, well, we just want to knock the Giants out of playoffs, and Jalen Hurts gets hurt, or AJ Brown gets hurt, or they lose somebody really serious going into that, really important going into the playoff run, then the fans will be pissed off. Like, you really did that. You just forfeited a chance at maybe winning the Super Bowl to knock the Giants out, which, you would think you could beat them in the playoffs if you met them. So that is another possibility that we could get a win at the end of the year just because they're not playing.
I'm going to give you guys a scenario where I think we could get in with 9 wins.
Okay,
I think we could lose the rest of our games this year outside of 2 games. If we sweep Washington, I think we make the playoffs 9-8 because Washington's the team that's competing with us for that last wild card. Because you look at the standings right now, Atlanta's 5-6. I don't see them creeping up. Seattle's going to get one of them because I think the 49ers are going to win the West.
Yes, they are.
And then you've got the Cowboys, and then either the Giants or Washington. So that's the way I look at it. If we sweep Washington, I think we could lose the rest of our games. And
You know what? I'll tell you, I was talking.
I'm not saying we're going to, but if we did,
I was talking with somebody about the Washington Philly game, and that as much as I'm glad Philly is no longer undefeated, that game allowed Washington to be hung around. If they lose that game, they're buried.
Yep.
They are hanging around. And I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm a little concerned because Washington's starting to play.
You should be. Washington's look great.
They are starting to play really well. So
that's what the playoffs are going to come down to. There's those two Washington games.
Washington and the Giants, same thing. We're very similar. The big difference that I see between us and Washington is they have a Terry McLaurin. We don't have him. We don't have that guy. They have a nice pair of running backs. I like Antonio Gibson a lot. He's very versatile. Brian Robinson's a tough runner. They play the way we do. I think Daniel Jones is better than Heineke, but they don't play against each other.
Right.
But I think that I think we're on par with teams like Minnesota and Washington.
And the Colts.
Maybe a little bit better than the Colts, not much. Right around there. Dallas and Philadelphia, on paper, they're better than we are. There's no question about that. So I definitely think we can get 2 or 3. I still think we can win 2 or 3 games here, at least.
I could see it. I mean, at least, I don't think they're done winning games. I definitely don't think they're done winning games, but I would feel better with 4 wins. I think that's asking a lot. 3, I think, should get them in, but we've got to see how these NFC East games fall.
Has Washington played Dallas yet? I don't remember if they'd played them.
I think so.
Let me give you Washington's schedule real quick. They're 6-5 because I think that's the team. If you're talking playoffs, that's the team.
They got us twice. They got Philly again.
They got at the 49ers. I'm going to say that's a loss.
That's a tough one there.
They've got So they've got Atlanta. They're going to win. That's 7 wins. They're going to lose to the 49ers.
They did play Dallas earlier in the year.
They played Dallas the last game of the season.
They played Dallas in week 4 too, and they lost to them.
Dallas should beat them. So so that's 2 losses right there. If the Giants sweep Washington, I'm looking at the standings. If the Giants sweep Washington, they could lose the rest of their games. They're going to make the playoffs. But they have to sweep Washington. Mm-hmm. And if they only beat Washington once, they may not make the playoffs with 10 wins. If they split with Washington, if they sweep Washington, they're going to the playoffs.
We can only hope, right, guys? I mean, it's a lot. I think is going to be decided over these next. Like I said, these NFC East games.
Yep.
This is where the smoke is going to start to clear.
And that's what's so disappointing about all the injuries, Patty, is right when we're getting ready to go into the gauntlet of the NFC East, we lose.
I know.
Everyone. Not that we weren't beat up already.
Dog, I feel you, man. I feel you. Look, I'm right there with you regarding the Adoree Jackson injury.
I mean, upset when that happened.
I was telling Dog offline before that I stopped to, I was chatting with Adoree, when they first decided to have him return punts. And I'm like, aren't you just a tad, concerned? And, no football player is going to admit that he's worried or anything like that. It's like, oh, I'm going to just do what I have to do. And I'm like, I'm sitting there and I said, I'm old enough to remember Jason Sehorn. And I had to tell him the story of Jason Sehorn. And I get it. You can't coach scared, and you can't, if a guy is your best option, you can't hold him back. But to me, when you are thin at a position, that's like taking an extra raffle ticket to get hurt. And that's how I viewed it. If they had an abundance of cornerbacks, maybe I would feel differently. They don't, they now you're looking at maybe Nick McLeod on one side, and I would think Darius Williams on the other side. You might see a little bit of Darnay Holmes mixed in there. I'm curious to see if they play Julian Love a few snaps on the outside, but your starters are probably going to be McLeod and Williams. Yep. And if any of those guys get hurt, now what do?
You pick someone out of the stands and say, hey.
I was going to say they're going to send him a jet for Traina, and they're going to bring him down, and he's going to have to play.
Might have to.
You could still run like a 4, a 4 something, right?
I run about the same time Eli ran. Whatever that was, that's about what I run.
Oh,
I'm guessing. I'm going to look up Eli's 40 time. Any guesses? I'm going to say 5:17.
I'm going to say it's like 4:9.
Eli?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Wow, Baddog's close.
Really?
Eli Eli was quicker at his combine than I thought he would be.
Yeah, but that was how many years ago when he was a young pup?
4.92 for Eli.
Now he's he's up there.
Brady.
Well, that's like us though. Now, Patty, we're up there too. I used to be able to, I was a track runner. I was a sprinter. I actually used to be able to run really fast. And as much as my brain tells me I can still do that, my body's like, nah, you're 46. You can't do that anymore.
I was a softball player and a basketball player with great agility. Well, I have 2 bad knees now, and plus I'm a little older than you are. So the brain is like, yeah, we can do it. And the body's like, what are you, crazy?
Exactly.
Oh, gosh. All right, guys. I got to take a couple commercial breaks. The first one's coming up. So let's run this commercial. We'll be right back on Locked On Giants Live. Please don't go anywhere. And now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Life can be challenging and put a strain on our mental health when things happen beyond our control. Seeking the expertise of a licensed professional to help guide us toward a resolution is key to overcoming life's ups and downs. So if you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, accessible, affordable, and entirely online. Get matched with a therapist after filling out a brief survey. And if you find that you're not a match to your assigned therapist, you can switch anytime at no charge. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. Hey, Giant fans, thanks for making the Locked On Giants podcast your first listen. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, welcome back, everybody. You got Traina, and the dog here on Locked On Giants Live.
All right,
How was that?
I'll be nice.
Oh, no, I went down.
Just a little, though. I could have been worse. Not bad. Your first one had a little more energy to it.
More energy.
I got to be fair. Yeah,
listen, you're coming out of the break, right? We just got done talking about all the injuries. The energy level is going to be a little down.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Dog gets me. Dog gets me. All right. All right.
Let's pull the greatest upset in the world on Thursday and wait till you see the energy then.
Oh.
Then what would the energy be like then?
Oh, it'll be off the charts.
Oh, it'd be crazy.
Oh, it'll be nuts.
You might break the internet if that ever happens.
It'll be nuts. All right, folks, make sure if you've got a question for us, pop it in the comment section, and we will flash some of these questions on the screen as we go through the show. And so, guys, let's talk more about this Dallas game. Dallas is not all that much different. I mean, obviously, Dak's coming back. Their defensive line, I think, is a little bit banged up. They've had some illnesses going through their locker room. Realistically speaking, though, how do you feel about this game? Do you feel like, okay, all's lost? I mean, despite the injuries, or do you think that maybe things are going to even out a little bit given the problems Dallas has?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm never going to go into a game with the all is lost mentality, regardless of how banged up the Giants are. They play the games for a reason. Unexpected things happen every week in the NFL for a reason. But I'm also going to go in with a realistic mindset. I'm going to go in when I evaluate these players at the end of the game, Daniel Jones specifically. I'm going to leave the game knowing that he went into this game with an offensive line from the depths of hell, no wide receiver help, and he's going up against a very good defense. So if Daniel Jones goes out there and throws 3 picks tomorrow, I won't be surprised, because I think that he's got nothing to work with tomorrow. So he could potentially be in a lot of trouble. But listen, things happen in the NFL. Unexpected things happen every week. So listen, the one thing I'll talk about with their defense, Trayvon Diggs is a risk taker. Try to take advantage of that. Try to hit a big play over the top. Maybe he overcommits on a play. Maybe you're able to create a touchdown that way. The Giants have to get creative in this game. Maybe this is the game where you see a surprise onside kick, a surprise fake punt. The Giants know that they're definitely at a disadvantage going into this game, so they have to try to do something to take advantage of it. From an optimistic standpoint, I'll say we have a coaching staff that's done great in terms of adjustments from within the games. Well, they already have a matchup against Dallas this year. So hopefully Dable got a good look at them and they come out with a really good game plan the second time around. But obviously I'd be lying to you and the listeners if I thought the Giants were going to win this game. I think we're going to lose by probably 10 plus points. I think this is a really tough matchup for the Giants.
Spoiler alert.
With the state that this team is currently in due to their injuries and everything else. Had we won the game against Detroit and stayed relatively healthy, I would have had a completely different outlook. And I pray to God I'm wrong. But I don't like the way we match up going into this game, but you never know. It's why they play the games.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I agree. I mean, they beat us up really bad the first time. The score wasn't indicative of it, but if you watch the game, they beat us up in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and we were healthier than we are now. Short week on top of everything else, traveling to Dallas, and Dallas is on a roll. They got Dak Prescott back. Yeah, I mean, this is incredibly difficult. And if we were healthier, it would be incredibly difficult. It's a really tough game. The only thing I can say about this is, again, we have to win the turnover battle. We have to force some turnovers. There's no question. We have to have more possessions than Dallas if we're going to have a chance to win this game. But if the Giants can somehow stay in this, because Dallas's job is going to be to stomp on them like they did Minnesota, put them out of their misery early, get up 2-3 touchdowns by halftime, by the end of the third quarter, and make the Giants believe they got no chance. If the Giants can somehow find a way to stick around and be right there in the fourth quarter, then I believe we might have a chance.
They got to muddy this game up, Baddog. They got to muddy this game up. They can't fall behind like they did last week and then be throwing the ball 40 times. We're not winning football games with this team that way. They got to muddy this game up. They got to control the clock. But that's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, you might have to take a couple of late hit penalties. I'm not encouraging it, but I'm saying you might have to get dirty in this one. You might have to try to throw them off their game. You're gonna have to try to do anything you can, because, like I said, on paper, we got no chance if you look at the rosters. But like you said, Chris, and like Chris Berman always said, that's why they play the games. The Giants, if they can keep this close, we'll have a shot at the end. But Dallas is going to go out there like Mike Tyson. They're going to try to knock us out in 2-3 rounds. But if you could make them go the entire game and the Giants start to get some confidence, hey, we can win this game, and Dallas starts kind of second guessing, why haven't we put this team away? We let them hang around. You got a chance. We have to stay in this game, and we'll have a chance to win it. But going into it, this no easy task.
All right. Let's get to some questions. Gabe wants to know, what kind of NFL experience does Jack Anderson have, if any? Jack Anderson, I believe, let me see, was he an Eagles draft pick?
Well, I know he got started by Dable. I know that much.
I'm sorry. He was drafted in the 7th round of the 2021 draft by Buffalo. So there's that Shane Dable Buffalo connection. But he spent 2021 season with the Eagles, appeared in 2 games with 1 start. And 2022, of course, he's been with the Giants. He appeared in 8 games, no start. So very limited experience for Jack Anderson, at least at the pro level. But he's someone that obviously Joe Shane scouted and Brian Dable was familiar with from their time up in Buffalo. So it's not like he's a complete unknown, I suppose.
Isn't that the guy that Dable ripped for having the false start on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he also ripped Daniel Jones at the beginning.
Oh, no, I know. I'm just that's what I remember Anderson from, was that play.
Right.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have known he was out there.
All right. Steve Galvin, why isn't Landon Collins playing? They've had Landon as an inside linebacker. So they've kind of been going with that Micah McFadden, Jalen Smith, and Tate Crowder sprinkled in there. So, Landon, it could also be a money thing, because Landon's 8-9 years into the league. So maybe they're saving that last practice squad elevation for later on in the year. You don't want to burn them all just yet. So Landon, believe it or not, I don't think is needed as badly now as receivers and offensive linemen and cornerbacks, which the Giants, in case you missed it today, the Giants made a flurry of moves to beef up those particular areas there. So
Percy says, why do I look so serious? I was looking at the guy's stats, so I probably look serious while I was looking at him. I was looking at Jack Anderson's stats because I didn't know much about him. He's got 89 career snaps, one
Yeah.
penalty, no sacks allowed. So I was looking at his stats, so that's probably why I look serious.
Right. All right, Larosity, who are the starting receivers and defensive backs? Okay, defensive backs, I think it's going to be McLeod and Williams on the outside. The safeties are going to be Love, and it's not going to be Belton. I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, the other safety?
Yeah.
Yeah, they said
Belton's they're going to make a switch there. It's going to be Pinnock.
Pinnock. Yeah. Yep,
Pinnock's going to be the other guy. They tested out his jaw, so I think he's going to be the other safety, and Belton they'll just sprinkle in, but Belton's not going to be the starter. As far as the receivers go, I think you're going to probably see Galladay out there. You're going to see Richie James out there. I don't know if you'll see. I guess you would see David Sills. I mean, they're down a receiver, so Hodgins will definitely be out there. So I mean, it remains to be seen how they're going to open it up. That I'm not as sure about who's going to make up that 11 personnel for them. But whoever it is, let's just hope they catch the damn ball.
Right.
Please,
Kenny Galladay, man, we need you, baby. We need you.
If we're going to win this game, I think Daniel Jones is literally going to have to carry the team. Like
he is. He definitely is.
He is going to have like 120 yards rushing. He's going to have to throw. He's going to have to throw like 250,
like he did against Jacksonville. He needs. Jacksonville.
Yeah, he's gonna have to play out of his mind in this game for the Giants to have any chance.
All right, Wolf Zay wants to know what happened to Aaron Robinson. He hurt his knee earlier in the year, and Dable was asked about him, and he said he doesn't think he's coming back this year. So 2 years in a row, Robinson's been injured. I think if he comes back next year, put him in as the big slot. I didn't like him as an outside corner. He was a slot in college. Why do that? I think they did it because they wanted the size after having to cut James Bradbury. So all the more reason why cornerback is going to be high on that list, that to-do list for Joe Shane. I wouldn't be surprised if they take a cornerback within the first 3 rounds. I mean, receiver and cornerback, and I think an offensive lineman have to be up there when you're thinking about, the draft next year. And it's early, but I think that's going to be.
I don't know what I want more. I go back and forth, and I'll give. Obviously, my opinion will change leading up into the draft, but the more I'm thinking about it, the more I want a center. I want an interior offensive lineman in the first round potentially this year because our interior offensive line is a mess.
But a lot of them are signed after this year too.
It'll all come down to what we do in free agency, whether we trade for a wide receiver. Obviously, we need multiple wide receivers, but I could definitely see us potentially trading for a wide receiver and then drafting an additional one. But we need a mega upgrade on the interior of the offensive line.
Well, and again, a lot, Feliciano's only signed for 1 year. I think Bredesen's a free agent after this year. He's on IR right now. Gates is a free agent. So they've got a bunch of guys that are up for renewal. Draft a center, re-sign Gates, put Gates at left guard. I mean, Lemieux. Yeah. At this point, he's injured again. Come on. Yeah. I hate to rag on a guy, for injuries, and I like Lemieux. He's a wonderful guy, but dude, you got to be on the field. And, he just missed a whole slew of time with turf toe, and apparently he aggravated it again.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness.
I should have taken Creed Humphrey a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That was my guy.
The old saying, shoulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda, did.
I just loved Creed Humphrey. I loved him when he was a freshman in Oklahoma. I talked about him for a year. I loved that kid. I just thought he's awesome. I haven't looked at empty centers this year. The last couple of years has been Creed Humphrey and Tyler Linderbaum. Those are 2 guys that I really liked. I haven't really paid attention.
Linderbaum's been doing well too, right?
Yeah, I haven't really paid attention to the centers. No one's really stuck out in my mind. I probably should start paying more attention to offensive linemen.
Yeah. I mean, there's still time, obviously, before we have to worry about that. I mean, we see right now, I don't know about you, but I'm just enjoying the fact that the football is still relevant. Yeah, I'm not even thinking about the draft just yet. I mean, at this point, we're so used to doing it because year after year, by now, it's like, okay, the Giants are done, so let's worry about the draft.
I think part of it is too. This year, we're 7-3. It's just we have so many guys that are freaking hurt. It's like we wanted to hurry up so we get more guys in here.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. All right. We have a question from Amazing Guy. Are Parsons and Lawrence playing? Let me see. Lawrence is listed as questionable, as is Parsons. Both were, let's see. Lawrence was foot illness, did not participate Monday or Tuesday, was limited on Wednesday. Parsons is listed with a knee and an ankle, did not participate Monday. Excuse me, limited on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah,
I
they should
suspect they're
probably
both going to
relax.
play.
You got to get ready for a stretch run, Dallas. You don't want to play these guys in a short week. Let
Yeah.
them rest, get better.
You would think so, but I have a
Sit
feeling they're
them
going to
out.
play.
Just let
They're
sit
playing.
them out.
They're playing.
I know they're playing.
There's no way they're sitting for this game.
Sit
Yeah,
out.
they're playing. Absolutely. I would be stunned. Look,
This is a huge game for Dallas.
this
I'm
is a big
listening. I'm
game,
just trying to help Dallas out a
national.
little bit.
It's
So rest your
national
guys.
TV. You don't think Jerry doesn't want to embarrass the Giants?
Yeah, Jerry's an embarrassment to himself. Just
And
rest your
then
guys.
he's gonna rub it in if they win, he's gonna rub it even more in the win or lose. Odell's going there, but he's gonna rub it even more in Giants fans' faces after they sign
Well,
Odell.
you know what? You want to
this week.
spend the money, Jerry? God bless.
They're gonna spend it. He's going there. I guarantee it.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. I know a lot of people are like, well, let him go to Dallas this year and then next year let's sign him. Not for nothing, but I like Odell, but time to move on. If you could get a young receiver on a rookie deal to help your salary cap, why wouldn't you want that?
There's a lot of them out there. Sir.
And
Taylor
it's a
Hyatt,
deep
Jordan
receiver.
Addison, Mario Williams, that kid
Yeah.
from TCU, his name always escapes my. There's a lot of good ones out there.
Yes, absolutely.
We need a young Odell. We need a young
Yes.
Odell. We need to find our new
Yes.
Odell.
Marvin Mims is another really good receiver. There's a lot of good receivers.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks, so they're going to go early too.
All right, Michael Bredesen is on IR, so not even in the equation right now. All right, this is a good one, and let me get your take, guys. What are they waiting for to get Saquon out in space? It just you look at Saquon's pass targets, and I thought he'd have a heck of a lot more than he's had already. Why do you think he's not getting out in space that too often?
Maybe they don't think the line can pull.
That's
I don't know.
That's the only thing I could think of.
Carl Banks, tweeted something out about how the Giants got to play perfect. That he didn't respond to me, but I did ask there. I asked the same thing. I'm like, do you know a reason why they haven't tried to get Saquon involved more in the pass game when he's had a hard time finding holes? Like, I would think that you'd want to get him out in space on a screen pass and try to let him work. If it's kind of an extension of the run, those quick screen passes, or where he just sits down and whatever, or line him out outside and get him a quick bubble screen and let him get out in space in a one-on-one and try to make a play happen if they're unable to run. So I don't know. I was wondering the same thing. I asked Carl Banks the same question.
I think a lot of it, why they haven't used Barkley, and this is just me speculating, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they need him to stay in and block. Why they haven't used Barkley in the fashion that I envisioned them using Barkley before the year started. I thought that they would use him more in like an Alvin Kamara like role, or one of these other, a guy like the guy in the Chargers, for example, Eckler. I thought they would use him more like that in terms of more wheel routes, using him more in terms of mismatches. But I do think the fact that they don't believe in their offensive line, and nor should they, in terms of being able to hold up in pass protection, it limits their ability to use Saquon Barkley in that fashion as much as they probably would want to. They're not stupid. They know how dynamic of a playmaker he is. But I think that and by the way, that's one thing. Saquon's done a tremendous job this year. He's gotten much better, in terms of run blocking this year. But I think that has a lot to do with it. I think they need him to stay in because the offensive line can't hold up.
Yeah.
Right, but if you're setting up a screen, you want the defenders to come at the quarterback. You want them to overcommit so you can get them out of the play. So to me, it would make more sense because he's not going to block when you.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about the screens. I was talking.
I'm talking about like screen passes, not like those, those little dig route or whatever, the little the stick out or the stick routes and all. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm like just a screen pass.
Yeah.
Let those defensive linemen get in there, throw the screen pass out to Saquon, let him go. I'm not saying do it every time, but I think that certainly helps that would help more when you can't block anybody. is to try to get him out there because the defenders are taking themselves out of the play. I'm just surprised they haven't used more screens to Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much like running those little sit down routes in the middle of the field or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm surprised too. I figure, but it could be the offensive line for all we know. I mean,
It may also be that and I don't know this, I'd have to look at the statistical data. It may be because of how bad our offensive line is. The defense doesn't blitz that often. They don't feel the need to blitz because they could send 4 guys and get after the quarterback.
Which is what I think the Lions did. Didn't they get
those
home
screens
more,
wouldn't be very effective if that's the case.
Yep. So, all right. Jacob wants to know, is Andrew Thomas playing? Andrew Thomas is listed as questionable. He has a bug. I think it's a stomach bug. So I think he's a wait and see. My understanding is he's going to give it a go. I don't even know if he was limited. Okay, he was listed as limited for today. Did not participate yesterday. So I wonder if he was. I didn't see him at the facility, so I don't even know if he was in the building. I mean, usually when those guys get sick like that with a bug, they send them home to avoid spreading it around. But to answer your question, Jacob, I think unless Andrew Thomas got worse, he should be out there now.
If Andrew Thomas can't play tomorrow, Daniel Jones
forget it.
Daniel Jones shouldn't play. with that, how many guys are out of this offensive line?
I think Andrew's going to play.
He's going to play.
But here's the thing now, if he's still sick or has the leftovers of that bug, how effective is he going to be? We saw how it affected Graham Gano.
Yeah.
I also think the wind affected Graham Gano.
Well, that's true. Yeah. But Graham Gano was pretty bad off. And I think if he had to do it all over again, he might have had second thoughts about playing. Just my gut feeling. I mean, I could be wrong, but he was bad off. When you need 4 IVs during the course of the game, and how many times did Gano have to kick? So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
So, definitely a bad bug going around that locker room. Hopefully they squished it out and, thank God it's not COVID. Otherwise they really would have been screwed.
Right.
So, all right, let's see. We have anything else popping up. Get those questions into the chat group, the chat screen here, guys, and we'll put them up on the screen. All right, let me ask you guys this while I'm looking for a question here. We talked about getting Jones out there, getting him, on the run if, the Cowboys clamp down on Saquon. Are you the slightest bit nervous about that? I mean, I know I would prefer my quarterbacks to stay in the pocket and just throw the ball. And I get it. Jones can run and you got to take advantage of it. But at what point does the risk outweigh the reward? Or the reward outweigh the risk, I should say.
I'm nervous about it every week, but unfortunately, we have to do it because that's Daniel Jones's legs might be our best weapon right now. with the way the defense is keying in on Saquon Barkley, it's unfortunate that our offense is so limited that we have to resort that much to Daniel Jones's legs as much as we've done this year. I don't think in an ideal world Brian Daboll would want to use Daniel Jones in the method in which he's using him, but he knows this is what's best for this team in order to put as many points up on the board as they possibly can. Daniel Jones' legs have been a weapon. And I do think that's a valuable part of his game. But yeah, I agree with you. In an ideal world, I wouldn't want as many design runs for Daniel Jones, but I don't think the Giants have much of a choice.
Yeah, I just don't like how he protects him.
He's got to learn to slide.
That bothers me.
I said it last year before he had the concussion when Chris and I were doing the game. I remember leaning to his head and I said, he's got to stop that, man. He's going to get hurt if he keeps going in there with his head. And sure enough, later in the game, he ended up with a concussion. So I don't want Daniel Jones running 15 to 20 times a game, but I do think that sometimes when a defense is ultra aggressive, just having him pull the ball out of there, just to put it in the back of the defense's head, and just maybe that little hesitation, like is Jones keeping his, Barkley getting it, will allow Barkley to get to the second level, and then he can break a big run. It's just enough to make the defense think who has the ball, because a split second in the NFL is a ton of time. But yeah, I don't want Daniel Jones running like Jalen Hurts does, where Hurts runs 12 to 15 times a game. But I do think that RPO can be very effective. And like Chris said, at this point, they may be our best weapon. But because it can confuse the defense a little bit and make them hesitate, you do those RPOs. You can work play action off of that and maybe buy him a little bit more time in the pocket to locate receivers downfield. But we don't have a lot on offense, and that's, one way we can score. That's one way we can move the chains. So unfortunately, you might have to use them a little bit more than you'd like to if you're going to move the ball against Dallas.
Yeah, unfortunately, but just got to protect himself better.
Yes,
Absolutely.
He has to slide. And you know what's funny? Sometimes when he slides, he gets hit anyway. Officials just turn it back.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Daniel Jones, I can't remember the last time he got a flag. Like it almost never happened.
I don't think I can't either.
It almost never. He did get hit with the late hit flag when he threw the pick like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And it got called back because they did get called for a late hit. But he doesn't get calls at all, and he gets hit a lot when he slides. There's late hits that he takes. He doesn't get the calls.
Never.
Yeah, definitely. All right, little Robbie wants to know: does Dable take over the O calls? Why would you want to take it away from Kafka? I don't think Kafka's done that horrible a job, and I don't know. I kind of like the arrangement they have now because Dable's able to manage the entire team. You start putting the head coach's face in that big menu card, and now, who's gonna he's gonna have to rely on people for timeouts, for clock management, for challenges and stuff. Nah, I just don't see it. I don't think there's any reason for Dable to take over the play calling. I mean, do you guys agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, I know a lot of fans don't love some of the things that Kafka's done at certain points this year. And I didn't love some of the play calls last week. I actually liked a lot of them, though. When you go back and think about the game, he did a really good job with Wan'Dale Robinson last week in terms of pre-snap motion. He gave Daniel Jones a lot of easy completions, and that goes to the play calling. I didn't like some of the calls either. I didn't like the run on 3rd and 6. There was another, I think it was an outside run where they tried to run it outside on a 3rd and 1. They stopped Barkley, and then Jones was able to pick it up with his legs the next play. So there was definitely certain calls from within that game I didn't like. But Kafka, I think overall, we talk about all the limitations for Daniel Jones. Kafka has the same limitations. So I think Kafka's done a good job. The red zone offense is much better this year, and that has a lot to do with the play calling. Daniel Jones has been able to come up with a lot of easy completions inside the 20 this year due to the fact he's been able to manipulate guys getting open. So I don't think Kafka's the issue with this team. I think the talent is on offense.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Kafka.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. All right, Papa Guzzo wants to know, any chance we can keep the game close in the 4th quarter? If they do, the pressure will be on Dallas and we can steal the game. Boy, I'll tell you what, I would love for them to keep it close. They did actually in the first meeting before the game got away. I would love for that to happen this week. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm worried about the like I said, I'm worried about the defensive secondary. I'm concerned about, how that offensive line is going to hold up. Totally different team than the one that played Dallas back in week 3.
Here, I just looked at this stat because I was talking about Kafka.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you the Giants' red zone stats. 2021, they were 32nd. 2020, when I say red zone, I mean scoring a touchdown inside the 20. 2020, they were 31. 2019 with Pat Shurmur, they were better that year. They were 17. 2018, they were, what were they? They were 28. So they've routinely been at the bottom. This year, with all the poor weapons, so on and so forth, all the injuries they've had, the Giants right now are 13th in the NFL in red zone offense. And over the last 3 games, they've been 3rd in the league. They've scored a touchdown in their last 3 games. 86% of the time they've reached the 20-yard line.
Right.
So Kafka's done a really good job.
The pre-snap motion has a lot to do with that because you can work guys open and you have defenses moving around there to counteract what the offense is doing, and they don't always get set. And that's the way a lot of times you're going to get it. But and also the fact that the Giants get the playoff a lot quicker, Daniel Jones can adjust down there instead of getting to the line of scrimmage with 3 seconds to go and you're hurrying up or you're taking a timeout. I think that Kafka's going to get done as good as he can. Just like I think Daniel Jones has done as good as he can. Just like I think Saquon, just don't have the horses.
Get more talent. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. LA Larosity, do you think Tyrod will see snaps if DJ is stymied? No. They're going to, I mean, unless it's a huge huge lopsided blowout, I don't see Daniel getting pulled if he's stymied as you
Daniel Jones is the
put it.
starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Like that's not even a question anymore. Like
Yeah.
it shouldn't have been a question at the beginning of the year, but it was for some fans. It's obvious he's a starting quarterback.
Yep.
He's proven he's a starting quarterback in the NFL this year. Tyrod Taylor only comes in if Daniel Jones gets hurt, or if, like you said, there's a blowout.
And it had to be a big lopsided blowout for that to happen. So,
Yeah.
All right. Mark B wants to know, will we see more of Matt Breida? You know what? I'm going to look up Matt Breida's snaps real quick because I want to say they've been using him more since the bye, but I want to confirm that real quick. Let me just see what they're doing with Matt Breida. Okay, I pulled up his stats.
I'd like to see more Breida too.
I would too. I would have no problem with that.
I think in this game.
Okay, here we go.
I'd like to.
Breida, let's see, 2022. He's been in 20% of the. All right, that's by season. So let's see. I guess if you're are you talking touches? If you're talking touches, Breida, let's see what he's had. 5. Yeah, you know what? Since Jacksonville, 4. He had 4 carries against Jacksonville, 2 against Seattle, 6 against Houston, 3 against Detroit. So, whereas in the beginning he had 5 versus Tennessee, 1 versus Carolina, 1 versus Dallas, 3 versus Chicago, 4 versus Green Bay, 3 versus Baltimore. So maybe a little bit more. You're seeing a little bit more of Breida, in terms of touching the ball. That's as a rusher. Now, as a receiver, let me see what he has. All right. So you definitely see more of him as a receiver because in the beginning, the first, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, first 4 games, he only had 1 target. Then he had 2, 2, 2, 6. He's had 8 targets since. So you sprinkle them in. I can appreciate that question because, you don't want to run Saquon to the ground, especially given the tightness here, another game, 4 games, 4 days after the last game. So I could see Breida getting sprinkled in a little bit more this week. Definitely.
Or Brightwell too. I mean, he runs hard. He's barely been used this year. And I'd like to see more multiple back sets. I said that last week. We didn't see too much of it this week. If you want to talk about a way in which you could get Saquon Barkley more involved in the passing game, have more multiple back sets, bring Breida in there and Saquon Barkley. You saw that more so in the beginning of the year. I'd like to see the Giants revert back to that. Not a lot, but at times. And what Baddog said, I wouldn't be surprised this week if they go back to that Wildcat a little bit this week. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, they totally abandoned. I wonder why they went away from that. I guess maybe because of
penalties.
The flow of the game.
They were having a lot of pre-snap motion penalties.
Yeah, and that's kind of concerning because at this point you would think that wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, but I guess when a running back is calling the cadence, it could kind of screw some guys up. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to break out the Wildcat or bring it back, this might be a good game too.
Well, I don't know because again, they did walkthroughs this week. That's the only thing, a walkthrough practice is it's a lot different than a regular practice. So is this the week to bring it back? I don't know.
I'm just trying to figure out a way for this offense to because we're going to have to score some points. Yeah. Our defense ain't shutting Dallas down. We're going to have to find a way one way or the other. Best way to do that is getting turnovers.
Yeah.
Let's hope Dak has a bad game.
Speaking of which, Tyrone Bauman, how does Wink approach Dallas offense with Dak at the helm? Does he still blitz or does he disguise and play more coverage schemes? I got to think that they're going to try and get home with as few guys as possible here. Have Dexter and Leonard try and push that pocket, maybe rush, because if you blitz Dak, he's going to burn you.
Yeah, especially with our secondary.
I think this is going to be a game, Tyrone, that's going to be very aggravating to watch as a Giants fan because if I'm Wink, I think the only approach he could take in this game with all the cornerbacks that are hurt, with as limited as we are there, you have to let them run. You can't let them throw all over you. And I think it's going to be a game where, and I'm not saying let them run, but you can't overcommit to stop the run. And I think the Giants are going to say, we're going to let you move it 20-20. We're not going to get beat with a huge play over the top. And then when we get inside the red zone, we're going to try to hold you to 3.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be able to run the ball all over us in this game. And I think the Giants are not going to allow Dak to beat them over the top with some big throws.
It's going to be a Patrick Graham style defense where that
Oh,
soft zone
That's the only choice.
absolutely killed me. I hate that defense, but like Chris says,
oh,
with how banged up this secondary is, I'd much rather Dallas have to go 12, 13 plays on a drive and then try to hold them inside the 20 as opposed to one big bomb over the top or 60 yards of CD Lamb. Make them earn it, because the more plays they run, the more opportunity they have to get a penalty or turnover or something. Make them earn it. No big chunk plays. If they're getting 8 at a time, 6 at a time, 12 at a time, whatever, then you try to clinch down in the red zone. But yeah, I don't want to get beat with a 70-yard pass. I don't want to play 70 yards and a touchdown. Like, that's not good for us.
totally agree. Totally agree. Amazing Guy wants to know, will we get Bellinger, Aziz, and Neal back for week 13? I think Evan Neal will be back for week 13. Ojulari, possibly. I would say 50-50 as of right now. Bellinger, the thing with Bellinger, and I had a chance to visit with him, the double vision, he still has a little bit of double vision, but he's healing beautifully. That eye is coming along. That's the trick, when that double vision goes away. So he's probably, I would say at this point, I would give him maybe a 25% chance of being back by week 13. I do think by the middle part of the month of December, he should be back, because he's coming along. It's, you look at his face, you would never know he had surgery on the eye. It looks really good. And, it's just a double vision. And then obviously they've got to fit him for a visor, and he's got to get used to the visor and everything like that. So it's coming. He's coming along, and gosh, not a moment too soon, because they have missed that guy. And, remember, they also got to bring him, they got to ramp him up again, because it's been a while since he's played. So
I loved Bellinger. I thought he was awesome. Again, not Jeremy Shockey type, but more Kevin Boss, and very effective.
We miss his blocking more than anything.
Misses blocking. Yeah, he's a great blocker, and he can go out there and catch a pass. So that's really all you need your tight ends for this day and age. I mean, we don't have Travis Kelce out there. Those are far and few between. I mean, how many other tight ends are really like complete offensive threats? I mean, Kittle's pretty good. Kelsey's ridiculous. I mean, he's amazing. Modern day Gronk, maybe
Andrews
better.
is good with the Ravens.
And Mark Andrews is really good. I mean, Hawkinson's okay, but like, you don't sit there and go, God, the tight end is a big time weapon. They really just have to go out there and get your 8-yard conversions, your play action passes. They're very effective in the red zone when you have a play action pass from the 5. A lot of times the tight end acts like he's blocking, and then he releases and he gets out there in the open. And so we definitely miss Bellinger. I mean, he had 4. Do you have 4 touchdowns for us? I know he had a rushing touchdown.
I think he had 3.
Okay, he had a rushing touchdown and maybe had 2 receiving touchdowns. But he was very effective in the red zone for us at the beginning of the
very
game.
Underrated too.
Yes,
very underrated. But they needed a second tight end, I think, to complement him, and that could be something. Maybe they look at free agency for that next year. So, all right, Papa Guzzo wants to know, is Brightwell a good receiver? Coming out of college, I don't think he was used much as a receiver, and just looking at his stats, he's only been targeted once, it looks like.
If I recall, and I agree, the book on him, he was not known as a pass catching back coming out of college. In preseason, I think the last 2 years, they've actually used him a decent amount.
They really did.
As a pass catcher coming out of the backfield, but he's not known for that. To me, I think the book on him is he was drafted for special teams purposes. That was the main reason.
Exactly.
But he's a hard runner. I'll say that. He does run hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like him as a runner. I'm not crazy about him as a kickoff returner. I think they've got to upgrade the returners.
We don't have any good kickoff returners.
Yeah, that's got to be a priority.
I don't know if we ever have, outside of Dave Meggett. I don't really remember ever having.
Dwayne Harris. You can make an argument for Dwayne Harris.
Ron Dixon was a pretty good kickoff.
David Wilson.
Until he got hurt. Yeah. But yeah, they're rare to find, a good return specialist. But all right, another one from Papa Guzzo. If Giants score 24 points, can we win the game? Yeah, assuming that the Cowboys don't score 30 or more.
It comes down to the way in which we score those 24 points. Do we score those 24 points similar to last week when we're playing catch-up ball, or do we score those 24 points in a tightly contested game where we control the clock and don't turn the ball over? because you could score 24 points and lose by 20 if it's a fast-paced game and they get ahead and you're playing catch-up. And so if we play our brand of football we've been winning games with, absolutely. If you could control the clock, you don't turn the football over, you create a turnover or 2 on defense, absolutely you could win this game putting up 24 points. So it depends on the type of game it is.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So, Larosity, do you think Daves will use the 8-man front again for running plays? Probably not, given the injury situation. I just, I don't see it.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
I think you might see a jumbo, a single, maybe a 6th offensive lineman that I could see, but an 8-man, I don't see it. Don't see it.
I like I said, and maybe I'll be wrong. What I expect in this game is it's going to be very frustrating. I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see Pollard and Zeke going off for 6-7 yards every time they touch the ball. And I think the Giants are going to try to limit the big plays. So I don't expect a lot of 8-man fronts. I think the Giants are going to try to overcompensate against the pass.
Yeah,
it would be tough. I mean, you don't want to have 8-man front and playing man-to-man coverage. We got CD Lamb and Michael Gallup. That's
with your 5th and 6th string cornerback.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, it's tough.
All right, another one from Larosity: is running at Parsons a good idea?
I don't watch Parsons every week. What I'll say is, at least in his rookie year, I felt like he was a guy. Obviously, he's incredible, but he's a guy that could be overly aggressive. Now, I don't know. I don't watch him every week, but he does seem like the type of guy that maybe could overcommit. And you could hit a screen pass against him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's very aggressive. So he wants to get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
That is his sole purpose in life. So again, when he's going out there, that's maybe some of those counter plays or a screen pass or that RPO. Maybe it takes him out of the play. He uses aggressiveness against him. But Parsons is an absolute beast.
Yes,
There's
he is.
No question about that.
And guys, when we were talking about returners, we forgot about Dominic Hickson.
Yes.
Yep.
My man, Hickson. How could I? Shame on me for forgetting him.
Yes.
Goodness gracious. All right. Christy asked, does Gates stay at center if Feliciano comes back? You know what? I would keep Gates. If Gates didn't look all that bad last week when he had to step in, I thought, all right.
Keep Feliciano off the field.
I would be all
keep Feliciano off the field. Keep Lemieux off the field.
Look, Feliciano was brought in for this year to kind of help with getting the system up and running because he was familiar with it. I do not think he's going to be re-signed after this year. I think the Giants are either going to hopefully re-sign Gates and plug him in somewhere on that offensive line, or just draft the center and maybe move Gates to left guard. Do something. Shake that line up a little bit, but get a guy who's, if I had my druthers, get a guy who has played center in college, not a makeshift guy who was an offensive tackle and then he moved inside the guard at the pros and now he's learning center.
Yeah. This year, I think Gates should be the center, but I agree. I think he would be best suited at the guard spot, and next year, hopefully, we draft a traditional center. But for this year, I've seen enough of Feliciano. I've seen enough of Shane Lemieux. I would prefer Zudu to get back on just because I want to develop him. I don't think he's very good right now, but I'd like to develop him. But
yeah, let him play through the hiccups.
I'm done with Feliciano. I'm done with Shane Lemieux. They were garbage. Get rid of those guys.
Yeah.
Shane Lemieux is just he's not long for the team. He was a 5th round pick. He was a project. And unfortunately, when
gotta stay on the field.
Right. I was gonna say, when you're a 5th round pick, you need all the reps you can get. You can't miss chunks of time and then jump into an NFL game.
I know I shouldn't be saying this too. I was thinking about it as I said it because you said Nick Gates watches the show, so he's gonna hate me now. But I got Nick, if you do watch, I gotta call it how it is. You should be starting. You are better than these guys. And I, as a Giants fan, you got to realize that Bad Dog, myself, we've been watching the worst offensive line play for the last 10 to 15 years. And I've been screaming about it since I've been on YouTube. So we love you and we don't hate your teammates, but we deserve better.
And they want you for the show, Nick. If you're watching, they want you on the show. So we got to see if we can make that happen. I
one time, Nick, one time, baby.
We got to see maybe 1 week, we'll do this show. And if I can work it out with him, and I won't tell you guys, and I'll say, oh, by the way, and then boom.
That'd be awesome.
You guys would probably pass out from shock, I would think. Oh goodness. And it's funny because I've got more marketing ops coming up, and I actually have a Dory coming up. I think it's going to be Monday. I was hoping to get a Dory, before that, but I think it's going to be Monday. So we'll see what that conversation looks like, especially now with him hurt. I have a few ideas what I'm going to ask, but that'll be hopefully if that comes out, that'll be next Wednesday's show. But anyway, all right, Papa Guzzo wants to know who will be the starting linebackers this week. Probably Jalen Smith and McFadden in the base. Crowder has definitely, that's been a change they've made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, McFadden's been getting a lot of snap. I'm curious to see the snap count last week.
Yeah.
But I don't like McFadden in coverage.
No,
I don't like any of them
torched in coverage last week. I remember that.
Yeah. All right. You look that up, Chris?
Yeah, I'm curious to see the snap count.
Okay.
Crowder, I know at the beginning of the year was missing a lot of tackles, so that probably didn't endear.
All right, so here's the defensive snap counts. You had Julian Love 100%, Dexter Lawrence 88%, Jalen Smith 87% last week, Leonard Williams 85%, Thibodeau had 69%, Ward 64%, McLeod's 58%, Belton 58%, Pinnock 55%, Holmes 51%, Zimenez 51%. Wow, so McFadden was 46%. So they didn't use a lot of two linebacker sets last week because McFadden was only out there 46. Well, I guess him and the other guy split 46% for him. And where the hell is Crowder? There he is, 31%.
Yeah,
48 and 31%.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, here's a blast from the past. We were talking about returners. Leon Bright.
Yeah.
Blast from the past.
Yeah.
Wow.
Before my time.
That's really old because I don't even know that guy.
Yeah, that was a 70s.
Going back to the 80s.
Was 80s, it early 80s? He wasn't. Who was returning kicks when I started? Oh, McConkey was our kick returner.
Yep.
He was I know he was a punt returner. Was McConkey also the kick returner?
Lee Roussan might have returned kicks when I was younger. I'm pretty sure Lee Roussan returned kicks. I remember Tom. I don't know if Tom Flynn returned kicks. I just remember him being a big part of the special teams. But
McConkey, I remember.
And then when Mega got there, I think in '89, and then he was dangerous. He was probably the best returner I've ever seen as a Giants fan. Like I said, Hickson was good. Ron Dixon was pretty good. David Wilson had promise in a small window.
It's hard to find a really, super.
It is.
Type of guy
you're not finding those Dante Halls anymore. They really don't exist. Or the Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
It's funny. I just found David Wilson on Instagram, and I tell a story all the time. The last year that they were up in Albany at training camp, he was a rookie, and I mean, watching David Wilson, but he moved at a different speed than everybody else. I've never seen an athlete like that. He was it sucks what happened to him. He had so much potential.
Yeah.
David Wilson did. He was so strong. He was Barkley before Barkley.
Yes.
He was the same type.
And you know what? I remember when he had to retire. God bless him. He got all dressed up. I think he wore a bow tie at the time. He was all fancy. And I remember him coming out to the podium and how emotional he was with having to retire. You could tell he didn't want to go. And oh my gosh, you just, I know this is going to sound like a woman thing, but I am a woman. I just wanted to give the guy a hug, because he was so broken up and the emotion that was coming out of him, because, it was whether you agreed with that pick or not, he gave it his all. And for him to have to walk away when he did prematurely like that, I felt for him. I really did. I really felt bad for him. So, all right.
He had a lot of potential, David Wilson did.
Yes. Tyrone Bowman wants to know, would a playoff push coming? Do you sick Lewinsky when Bredesen comes back? Lewinsky is playing horrible. I don't think so. I don't think they sit him.
I don't think they'll sit him either. He's not good, but I don't think.
No, I agree. But again, Lewinsky, you got him for what, 2 years? That contract was what, a 3-year deal, so it's technically a 2-year with an out after the second year.
Yeah.
So
and to be fair, Lewinsky's also playing next to God knows who on the right side, so it's like, but I don't think they'll sit him for. But Bredesen to me is not very good either. So
and like
nobody's really good at it.
They gotta work on the interior of that offensive line. There's no question about it. I mean,
I know Bredesen was playing all right, but I still don't think he's very good.
yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I mean, thing is, we got these guys off the scrap heap, and we have no money to go out there and pay a top tier interior offensive line. So we just had to
And where are you going to get one at this
right
stage of the game? You're not.
mishmash. You just have to. It's a mash unit. You just got
Right.
to put able bodies out there at this point. And unfortunately, you made a great point, Patty. And Chris and I talked about this before. We always say it's going to take maybe a month for the line to develop because you do have to build chemistry with one another. You have to know the other guy next to you's tendencies, and it just helps everybody out when you become a cohesive unit, when you're constantly taking pieces out, putting pieces in, taking pieces out, whether that's because they're getting benched, whether that's because you're looking at somebody, whether it's because of injury. It's much more difficult because you're starting over every week. Okay, now I got this guy next to me. Now I got that guy next to me. Who's going to be next to me this week? Oh, this guy's back this week. So it's tough, and it
It is.
sucks.
And the players will tell you, if you catch them off the record, they'll tell you it's tough. Despite the fact that they're all in the same classroom, they're all being taught the same thing, the same signals, the same code words, whatever the case may be. It's not the same.
No.
It's not the same. It's, I had one guy put it pretty neat. One guy once told me that it's kind of like, you've been married to the same person for years, and then suddenly that person's not there anymore, and you've got a new spouse, and you have to get used to how that person falls asleep. Do they toss and turn? Do they snore? And so I thought that was a pretty good, analogy.
Yeah, one and done for me. I would never remarry.
I
God
don't
bless
think I
my
would
wife for putting up with me for 22 years. But
23 years?
we've been together 22 years. We've been married 15. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going on 21 years with my husband.
So it's a long time. And I mean, I can't even picture myself with.
I know.
I wouldn't even know what to do at this point anymore. I wouldn't even know. I'd have no idea. Yeah, that'd be.
Taylor doesn't have this
That'd be
problem,
really
obviously.
that'd be different. I mean, from week to week, having somebody else next to you as opposed to 20 years, and then all of a sudden it's like
Yeah.
that'd be really weird.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat. I mean, I've been with mine married 20 years. I think been with him for almost 27 now.
Yeah.
So been a while.
Yeah, been a long
And
time.
at this point, it's like I can order food offline and know exactly what to get him and
Yeah,
how to
you can
prepare it
finish
and
each
stuff like
other's
that.
sentences, all that. You know what you're thinking. It's just a look. Oh, I'm in trouble again.
And then also you're at the point in a relationship where if you want to call each other names and stuff like that,
Oh, of course. My wife calls me Gonzo all the time. It's hilarious. All the time. All the time. Or Toucan Sam. She likes that one too. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I won't. Well, my mother actually called my husband his nickname. I don't call him by his nickname, Ducky. She always used to call him Ducky. I'm like, I did in the beginning, but now I just go, well, I can't repeat what I call him sometimes, but I do it affectionately. So, all right, enough about nicknames and spouses and stuff like that. All right, here's one for you guys. Giants Mafia says, I don't agree with Taina and Baddog saying we should play back and let them get 6 yards of carry. That's a recipe for disaster. We have to get pressure and make Dak feel it. All right, guys, you want to respond to that?
I'm just going to say, how are we going to get pressure on them? That's
I mean,
guarantee when we blitz, we're going to hit them.
It's pick your poison. It's pick your poison, Giants Mafia. You want to try and take the swing with our 4th and 5th cornerbacks, and if you don't get home with the blitz, we are literally going to get torn to shreds. And the Giant and Dallas has a good offensive line. So
not to mention they have one of the best running backs in the league at picking up a blitz in Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah. And wing splitzers haven't been getting there. I mean, how many sacks are we getting in these games? And he brings the blitz. We've gotten burned on the blitz on 3rd and longs a lot. So, yeah, again, it is pick your poison. You can give up.
Neither's going to be great.
No, death by 1,000 paper cuts or one, blow to the chest. I guess it is pick your poison. But I would just, I'd much rather make them earn it in small doses as opposed to one big.
Like you said, if Dak has to run 14 plays, maybe they have a holding penalty. Maybe there's an intentional grounding. Maybe he makes one really bad throw that we're able to create a turnover.
Offensive pass interference, false start.
Yeah.
The more plays they have to use, the more opportunities they have to make a mistake. That was my thinking behind it. But yeah, like Chris said, it's either way, it's not going to be pretty. This is going to be a really tough game. They're a good team. They're a really good team.
Yeah.
And
All
I
right,
hate
guys.
that, but they are.
All right, guys, we got to take one more commercial break, and then the rest of the way, keep those questions coming in. We'll continue to answer them. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Today's episode of the LockedOn Giants podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Small business owners, if you're looking for the right people to help your small business fire on all cylinders, you need to check out LinkedIn Jobs. Post a free job listing in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to let everybody know that you're hiring. Over 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn Jobs every week and are just waiting to find opportunities with employers like your business. With LinkedIn Jobs, simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize whom you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Post your job for free today at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, everybody, welcome back. Entertainah and the dog. LockedOn Giants Live. We are answering your questions here the night before Turkey Day, Thanksgiving. Back to 8. All right.
Snowman.
There we
Better tonight.
go.
You're doing better tonight. That was
I'm
you
doing
brought a
better.
little more
I have a
energy
little
to
bit,
that.
considering I've spent the whole day, and I only wanted to work a half a day today, but I spent the whole day writing, editing. I still got one more article to write, which won't take me that long. All things considered, I've got a lot of energy tonight.
You've done
Good.
a
I mean, Pat, we're playing the Cowboys. Beat
Yeah,
up
but,
or not,
Thanksgiving's
beat up
always
or
a
not, it's gonna
production.
bring a little extra juice,
Yeah,
right?
now let me ask you, what are you doing for tomorrow? You making
I'm
the
going over
turkey?
to my brother's house.
Okay,
for
so they're making the
Thanksgiving.
turkey.
The Chiefs fan.
The Chiefs fan, yes.
Okay.
And I was invited, he said, he goes, "Oh, you could stay over, and I'll give you the commentary on the game." I'm like, "Nope, got to go home. I've got to, work." And I can't work with him chirping in my ear.
Right.
So I'm like, "No, I got to go home. Got to put my laptop together,
This is what you could do. I'm gonna let you have the best of both worlds. This is what you should do. You bring your earpods to Thanksgiving dinner. You tune into our stream, and we'll give you the play-by-play.
There you go.
Yeah, I like
There
that.
you go. There you
Do I
go.
have to put the glasses on too? I guess I got to put the glasses on, right?
Yeah.
Are you still doing that?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
I
I
love
upstairs,
it.
but yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
my-
all right, real quick then, since we just discussed that. All right. Favorite dish at Thanksgiving?
Oh, wow. I like a traditional Thanksgiving meal: turkey, stuffing, gravy.
What's your favorite? Just
My favorite? Probably. Oh gosh, that's a tough one.
Yes.
I don't
Give
know
me,
if I have-
give me the list. What's like the traditional for you guys? You
For
obviously got
me?
the turkey,
Well, on my plate, you'll find turkey,
Gravy,
gravy, a
stuffing.
biscuit, stuffing,
Mashed potatoes,
mashed
Mashed potato.
potatoes, uh,
cranberry sauce.
cranberry. I
That's
like the
traditional.
chunky cranberry. My husband likes the
Yeah.
jelly. He already bought like 4 cans of jelly. He's
I
taking
used to love
2
that when I was a
just
kid.
for
It was my
himself.
favorite.
The sweet potatoes. That's a staple.
I'm not a big sweet potato fan, believe it or not.
No.
I don't put greens on my plate either. I really should. But I
Nah,
don't
it's
do
not a
that.
day for vegetables. I like
Yeah.
vegetables. It's not a day for vegetables, except for
No,
sweet
screw the
potatoes.
vegetables.
Yeah, so that's basically my plate. I mean, I know it's a calorie laden plate, but it's Thanksgiving, and the heck with it. I mean, I'll come home and I'll probably be bouncing off the walls with the football game. So, and as long as
Yeah,
I don't fall asleep. But and then for dessert, I know my husband, he wanted chocolate cream pie, so he got his chocolate cream pie. My sister-in-law usually likes to bake, so I'm sure she'll bake something. And
I love
know.
the pies on Thanksgiving. I
the
love
pies are the best.
pumpkin pies to die for, pecan pie to die for. So I'm a
Yeah.
huge pie guy.
I'm not a fan
me
of
too.
pumpkin pie. Pecan I like.
You
My husband can't eat
don't
it
like
though.
pumpkin pie?
I don't know. And I'm not an eggnog fan
Wow.
either.
You know what?
Eggnog.
I'm not a big eggnog guy. I could have eggnog,
My
but I'm
husband
not.
likes it, but
Yeah. But
Yeah, me, it's candied yams. I am a big candied yam guy. It's probably my favorite part of the. And you're
Yeah,
talking about pecan pie and pecan. That is waiting for me for my
I
cheat
saw
day.
that.
Yes. Saturday though, I can't cheat tomorrow. Everyone's like, "How are you not having a cheat day on Thanksgiving?" I said, "I'm very regimented. I
Yeah.
have to do it on Saturday. I can't have 8 days in between cheat meals. I'll go insane." So I don't normally eat bad on Thursday. I will just take the food that I normally eat Thursday and I will eat it Saturday.
There you go.
But that
And I
pie
get that
is
pie.
going in this face. I can tell you that right now. My wife brought that home. She's like, I bought pies. She goes, I was thinking of you. She actually got 2 of those. I'm like, well,
And you're like, okay, one for me and one for the
that's
rest of
what
the
she
people.
said. One's for you. She knows. I'm like, I'm not eating that whole thing. I'll go into a diabetic coma if I eat the whole thing. It's really all
I gotta
that is,
watch
the bowl of
2.
sugar with some pecans on it, but I can't
I
wait
know.
to get it.
I've got to watch 2 because I can't come home and fall asleep, which is what I do after a
Everybody
meal.
does.
I think I know it's cliche, but turkey and gravy for me.
Yeah, I've actually had turkey earlier this week, so I'm ready. I'm ready for
Turkey
it.
every
So.
day of my life, ground turkey, but not roast turkey.
Yeah, turkey meatballs are okay, but a
Yeah,
little
they're
on the
good.
dry side. I don't know, but anyway, let's get
Turkey
back
is
to the
dry,
football stuff because people are like, enough about the food. So
I can talk about the. I keep talking about the food. You want to talk about the food? I'll keep
I
talking.
know.
John Madden talked about food the whole football game.
We're not John Madden though, so
I
we can't
know.
get away with it. All right. Papa Guzzo wants to know, how is Beavers doing in his rehab? Haven't heard anything about him and I haven't seen him, so I don't know, but I'll try and find out next time I'm in the locker room. I don't know what the next time we're in. I think next Wednesday is the next time we're in. But I will see if I can find out anything. I haven't heard anything, but
That's a year recovery.
yeah,
Right
pretty
about.
much.
That
Let's
was another
see.
loss that absolutely sucked. I liked him, man.
Yeah,
I liked Darian Beavers. When Chris and I were doing the draft, I remember, I wouldn't say we were like down on the picks, but it's kind of like we didn't know a lot about Wan'Dale Robinson or Cordell Flott or even Daniel Bellinger or Zuda. We didn't know a lot of this. We're looking at the highlights, whatever. But when they showed his film, we're like, oh, yeah, we like this guy. This guy hits, he just looked like a football player. And the same thing in preseason. So that sucked too. I was really hoping he made the team. I really like Darian Beavers.
I think he'll be on the team next year. I
think so too.
He looked really good in training camp.
We'll see how he looks though with that coming off that injury. If there's a positive thing about it, and I know you don't like to say positive with an injury, it happened early, so he should be good to go. Because timing's everything with these injuries, especially these serious injuries. And the kid was really coming on strongly. He was
bad timing. Wan'Dale Robinson, bad timing.
Bad time.
Right.
Exactly.
Because he might not be ready by the start of next year. And even if he is, he's going to miss valuable offseason time.
Exactly. All right. Amazing guy. This probably, I wonder if Amazing Guy, were you involved in the exchange we had earlier today on Twitter, on my Twitter account, with the injuries? Kevin McClave, who is constantly harping on the injury situation. And I keep telling you guys, football's violent. Injuries are going to happen. And people are like, well, what about, the rate of injuries? All right. One of the things that I mentioned, and I know when we had the injury expert or the rehab specialist on the show a few weeks back, he said consistency is key. So the Giants, that you don't want to keep changing out strength and conditioning staffs because you have different people that come in. And Doug, you could probably attest to this being a workout warrior yourself. When you constantly change your workout, and you don't let your body acclimate, that can probably do more harm than good. And then, you start training individually with, say, a trainer that maybe doesn't specialize in football, or who say, oh, this supplement here, try this supplement. It's okay. It's approved by the NFLPA. These are all factors into guys' conditioning. Everybody likes to pass themselves off as a guru. The Giants, when they had, going back to the 80s, let's go back to the 80s, Johnny Park was on the staff. They didn't have a whole big injury issue. I'm trying to think, who was was it Mother Dunn was under Tom Coughlin? Was it Mother? I think it was Mother Dunn. They didn't have guys getting injured at rapid clips. I think it was after Mother Dunn left that they had problems. So, you got to let a strength and conditioning staff take root and work with these guys. And, now you've got new sports scientists coming in. So yeah, amazing guy. You got to give it some time. I know it's frustrating. Injuries are going to happen. You can't avoid broken bones. You can't avoid, certain types of injuries, but, trust me when I say they're studying it. And by the way, they're going to replace that turf.
Yeah.
So that's a big step in the right direction.
This is what I'll say about the strength and conditioning coach. Okay. And again, I mean, I'm not saying I'm in these guys' shape. These guys are not human beings. But as a guy that has worked out for many years and studies and works out a certain way and eats a certain way, the torn ACL has nothing to do with strength and conditioning. That's a tendon. You really can't do anything about that. The only thing I can say is I mentioned this before. In the 80s, guys worked out and guys were big and strong, but not like today. And when you have so much muscle on that tendon, they're under more stress because you just can't, muscle's dense and it weighs a lot more. So when you're not as flexible and you're really got a lot of pressure on the tendon, and then on top of it, you have another 300-pound dude or 270-pound dude pushing on it, and you're constantly cutting and you're constantly putting pressure on the tendons every single play. That's why you see so many torn ACLs. That's why you see ruptured Achilles tendons. That's why that's become more of a common injury than it was in the 80s. You hear guys tearing their ACL as often in the 80s and even in the 90s as you do now. So maybe these guys are just too strong. I mean, maybe they do need to take it back. And that's the only thing I can think of. But it's not like we're dealing with outside of, I know Kadarius Toney ain't here anymore, but he was a guy where it was like muscular. In Aziz, it's muscular because it's a
Who got hurt, by the way, again.
That was very ironic that he mocked him. My hamstring hurts, and now he's out with a hamstring injury. It's the irony was kind of funny. I don't want to root for a guy to get injured, but
not rooting for it. But he got hurt again.
And Travis Kelce, I don't know why the Giants let that guy go. Well, you're going to find out, Travis. You're going to find out why the Giants said this guy don't play.
Hey, dog. Say it louder for the back row, because this is what I have been saying for I don't know how long, and people just refuse to listen. They think there's some great conspiracy. I went at it today on Twitter. Somebody said, "Oh, it's Ronnie Barnes. Ronnie Barnes is the problem." Ronnie Barnes treats the darn injuries. He doesn't cause them.
Right.
You look at the strength and conditioning coach. The program that's in place. You look at the sports scientists, the GP. How are they reading the GPS data? Are they saying, "Oh, okay, player X, your GPS says you're kind of, we probably should give you a rest, but we really need you to go out and push the envelope." We don't know what's going on, all right, behind the scenes. So I would be really, really careful about saying that it's one factor creating all these injuries. And oh, by the way, I've had conversations, and I've actually had him on the LockedOn Giants podcast, and hopefully I can get him back on here with Pratik Patel, who used to be on the coaching staff. And look at the number of games missed. The stats that you see on man games lost, I think that takes into consideration the number of times guys end up on the injury report. Guys are going to be on the injury report, but I think it's man games lost, the actual number of games that the team loses. And there were spurts there where the Giants were in the middle of the pack. So just, injuries happen. Look, they're frustrating. I get it, folks. In a perfect world, nobody gets hurt. But football is a violent game.
Yes.
Broken bones, there's nothing you can do about that.
Mhm.
You can't do anything if somebody rolls up awkwardly on your ankle.
Right.
You can't. Concussions, how are you going to prevent those? They're trying all kinds of different helmets and padding and stuff like that, and they're still happening. So, I mean, short of making this a flag football, what are you going to do? I just don't know if there's an answer.
By the way, I meant to ask you because a couple of people asked me on Twitter. I didn't know. Is Ellerson Smith back? Like, is he playing? Yeah,
I'm sure he is.
Yeah. People were. I wasn't sure. He's playing this week, right?
He is playing.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to make sure.
Kind of quiet.
Because a lot of people asked me about him. He played last week.
I think so.
Yeah. If he did, he
quiet,
didn't play much. Yeah. Yeah, I had a lot of people ask me about that, and they wanted me to ask you that tonight about Ellison Smith.
Yeah, as far as I know, but he was a guy who, in the beginning, before he got hurt, you thought he was going to, he was going to be something else. Then he got hurt and kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
Kind of faded into.
Well, he was
Like a lot of
hurt.
our guys do that. They get hurt, and we never hear from them again.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, let's see.
Last week.
All right, let's see. Brat's man sack. I hope Patty practiced her closing line. I think I did. I mean, whether I get as high a score, I don't know. We'll find out. If you hear somebody in the background yelling out, "You suck," that's my husband saying, not approving, because he can hear me through his office is right above mine where I record. So I'll do my.
Yeah, he played. I just looked. He played 3 plays last week. Ellison Smith.
Yeah, I kind of like almost a forgotten guy, but all right. M626M. Why hasn't Foster Pimpleton been called up from the practice squad? Not ready. Foster, I know, was injured. He got an injury settlement. They brought him back. He missed a chunk of time, so still working to get him, into the mix. Pimpleton, I guess, just not ready. It's the only thing I can think of. I mean, I thought maybe this week he might get called up, but they're not going that way. So is what it is. So all right, let's see. Little Robbie wants to know: will there be a silent auction for Patty's original broadcast sheet? My broadcast sheet?
He's been asking weird questions the whole stream, so
yeah, I was like, what are you talking about?
He asked another weird one that I laughed at before. I don't remember what it was, but
he's taking the place of Tim, right? Mr. Weird Trade proposals.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right, let's see. A lot of people weighing in on Thanksgiving. Let's see.
Well, they should. People get excited for Thanksgiving. It's a good day.
You know what? And I don't know about you. Are you guys going to be
Mm-hmm.
watching the other football games, or are you just going to tune in for the Giants?
No, I watch them all.
Yeah. What time? The first game's at 1, right, or 12?
No, I thought 12:30.
Maybe 12:30. That's right.
Is it 12:30?
Yeah. Yeah, I watch them.
Detroit plays the 12:30.
Bills, right? Yes.
Yeah, Detroit and the Bills.
And then Minnesota, New England is later.
Yeah.
Listen, I have to watch. Normally I watch them anyway, but I think I mentioned this before. My fantasy football team, which me and my buddy never do well. This year we're tied for first. We have the best record in the league. The other guy with the best record, we play him this week, and he has 5 players playing tomorrow. So we're going to have a good idea of where we are. So I have to watch Minnesota. He has Hawkinson. I know that. That's one. He has 3 guys in that Bills. He's got Diggs. He's got Singletary, and he's got Williams. He's got both running backs and the wide receiver. I forgot who else he has going. Oh, Adam Thielen. So I have to watch those games because I have to know, and I have to hope that all those guys suck. So Detroit, shut them down.
Yep.
Good luck.
All right. Mike Gordon says, Bob Papa said Jerry puts on a hell of a spread for the media. Yes, he does. When you go to AT&T Stadium, yeah. I mean, I remember when that building opened, in the restrooms, they had gold-lined paper towels to dry your hands. So yeah, they do it up. And
Jerry ain't sparing no expense. We can't say Jerry's a cheap.
Some of the best spreads pregame and halftime. Usually on a regular Sunday you get like barbecue, authentic Texas barbecue. I suspect they'll have fried turkey. I don't know if you guys have ever had fried turkey, but it is amazing.
I have once.
It is amazing.
So Patty's talking me into going to Dallas for a game one of those days.
You would. I'm telling you, they do it. They do it right.
Fried turkey is dangerous, though.
To make, yes.
Yeah.
You have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you could catch fire. But
yeah, I won't be making that.
It tastes amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, one Thanksgiving years ago, me and my friends we made a fried turkey, and it was really good.
Yeah, the Giants used to have it too, and they don't serve that anymore. Then again, it's been a while. Like once in a while, we would get that like for the 4:00 game or the night games, but they don't make that anymore. So it is what it is.
Mr. Mara, bring it back. Bring it back.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm not one to sit there and talk about the spreads at other stadiums or because, my philosophy is I'm going there, I'm a guest. I'm not going to pick on the food or, get too high or too low over stuff. I know some people do that. I try not to do that. I just think that's kind of hokey and rude to a degree. So, all right. Scott Young says, are they definitely changing the turf? That is the plan. Yes. What they are changing it to, I don't know. But I would hope at the very least they go to a monofilament type of artificial turf. I don't think they will go to grass.
No, they're not gonna.
They can't, not given the use in that stadium, but but
even more of a reason why we need our own stadium.
Well,
because if it wasn't for the Jets, we'd be able to have grass.
You'd also have a stadium that looked more like the old Polo Grounds. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Instead of that toaster that they have now.
Yeah.
With the gray.
Speaking of the Jets, what did you think of that decision they made this week?
Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, I agree.
Zach Wilson, that answer by Zach Wilson was just totally unacceptable. How tone deaf do you have to be?
Could you imagine Daniel
to
Jones
say that you weren't part of the that you're not taking part of the blame for that loss?
Yeah, they scored 3 points. It's got nothing to do with him.
Yeah,
sure, buddy.
Yeah. Zach, do you feel somewhat responsible?
On.
Do you feel bad about the defense? No.
See, when I had Sean King on the show a few weeks ago, his closing message was, Giant fans, be thankful you don't have Zach Wilson on your team.
Right. Think about Daniel Jones, right? Daniel Jones, he may not be the greatest quarterback we've ever seen, okay? But look at what the Jets have gone through. They're top 5 picks. Mark Sanchez, bust. Mm-hmm. Sam Darnold, bust. Zach Wilson, benched. He may not even have a future.
I'm telling you right now,
another quarterback this year.
It's deja vu for the Jets all over again. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in the offseason. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be a Jet. Because the New York Jets play, obviously Saleh came over from the 49ers. There's a tie there. Their play caller came over from the 49ers. And Jimmy Garoppolo is going to strike it big.
Makes sense.
He's going to make a boatload of money. And the Jets are going to do the same thing they've done in the past with Neil O'Donnell, with Brett Favre. They're going to bring in an age veteran quarterback. They're going to overpay him. And they're going to be starting all over in 3 years. Same thing.
Boomer Esiason, if you want to go back.
Boomer Esiason. Yeah, it's going to happen again.
Kenny O'Brien was okay in the 80s. The quarterback I really liked for the Jets was Chad Pennington.
He was good.
That was the only really decent quarterback.
Testaverde for a year.
Testaverde in 98 was really good when they made the AFC Championship. But like Pennington was the only guy I remember saying, well, he's a decent quarterback for a few years. But so think about that. I mean, Giants fans are quick to say, oh, Daniel Jones is there. Daniel Jones, got to get rid of Daniel Jones. But look at what the Jets have gone through. And all 3 of those quarterbacks I mentioned were top 5 picks. And 3 of them, they were horrible. So it's not that easy. You can't just be like, we got to get we got to tank, got to get a top 5 quarterback.
Not guaranteed.
Jets.
It's not guaranteed. Definitely.
It's far from that. It's like a 20% chance you're going to hit on a quarterback, regardless of where you pick them.
Exactly. All right. Papa Guzzo, do you think Shepard will be back next year? I know he wants to come back. I don't think he will. Again, for the same reason, if I'm going to say that I don't think Odell's going to be a Giant because of the 2 ACL injuries, I got to apply the same logic here with Shep. An Achilles and now an ACL.
It would have to be. It would have to be like
a veteran minimum with no signing bonus.
Yeah, it would have to be as cheap gets, and if that's the case. And maybe it would be because I can't imagine there's going to be a market for Shepard with.
And I don't think Shepard would hold the Giants up for big money like Odell allegedly is doing.
Yeah, so that's the only way he's coming back. It's got to be.
Yeah,
it's gotta be
I would be shocked. I mean, I know they like him, and he's been around in the locker room. He's tried to coach these young guys up and still be that mentor because they really don't have a mentor. Kenny Golladay is kind of in his own little world there, but I would be stunned if I hope he is. I like Shep, but I just don't know. I don't see it. I really don't.
It's tough to bring. I mean, we have so many positions. We need help at wide receiver. Is Sterling Shepard really the guy you want to bring back? I mean, this wide receiving core is going to be completely different. There may not be anybody on this receiving core next year to start the year that's on it now. Golladay probably will not be back here. Shepard might not be, probably won't be back.
Slayton will probably test
Slayton-
free agency.
Right. You don't know about Darius Slayton. He's probably 50-50 if the Giants bring him back or not. Wan'Dale Robinson's not going to start the year because he just tore his ACL. Richie James probably not. David Sills probably not. We could have a completely different starting wide receiving core. All the way across the board.
I'd be fine with that.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I'd want to give, and I love Shep. I mean,
I
I'm
do
a Steeler
too.
fan, so I loved him coming out of college, but I don't know if I'd want to give him money because he's had an injury issue, and as great as he may be in the locker room, that's awesome. But unless you're a coach, I mean, you got to produce in the field. That's his job. And if he can't stay in the field, unfortunately, it's hard to tie money into a guy that can't stay healthy. And that's the issue. Of no fault of his own. He had concussion problems. He's just, it's unfortunate. But we could really be looking at 5 different wide receivers on this team next year.
We're going to be.
Sure. I think
I still think Slayton might be back.
That's what I'm saying. I think he's
50-50.
the best chance. Depending
and I think Wan'Dale obviously is going to be back, but he might not start.
He'll be back, but he won't be starting the year.
Right. Right. All right. So we have a question about from Mike Gorga. How can a calf, and he's referring to Azeez Ojulari, take 10 weeks?
Was both calves, right? He had one bad calf played.
I think both calves. Yeah, I think so.
And a strain, I again, as a guy that goes to the gym, strains take a long time to heal. They don't sound like a lot, and it depends on the person. I've strained my calf twice. The right, I thought and I can tell you this, when I did it the first time, I thought I tore it because it popped. I heard it pop, and it went all the way down into it swole all the way down into my Achilles tendon, and it got black and blue. I go, oh my God, I just tore my calf. And then I read, it could just be a strain. They take like 6 to 8 weeks to heal. It healed in 2 days. Then I did, and then I said, oh, okay, not a big deal. Then I did it again, and it took 4 weeks. And I don't play football. I'm just a freaking guy in the gym. So calves, you're always using your calves. You're pushing off. It's constant. It's constant pressure on your calves.
Yep.
So again, it depends. Some guys can heal from strains in a week or two. Some guys it takes longer. Like Odell.
It depends on the grade of the strain too.
Right.
Like if it's a grade 3, that's going to take
a long time.
Right. Which apparently, given the length that he's been out, it had to be a grade 3.
Yeah. And again, it's been both calves. Beckham didn't have strains, but Beckham dealt with pulled hamstrings for a while. His rookie set, I remember set him out. He's dealt with that kind of in his career where he missed a couple of weeks because of his legs. And obviously Kadarius Toney deals with the same ailment. So I don't know. I don't think it's been 10 weeks for like the same camp. I know Ojulari did come back and play, and then he got hurt again, right? He did play in a game.
He actually had a sack in that game. Yeah. And then he got hurt.
And then he ended up hurting the other calf, I thought.
Yeah.
It was both legs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. Scott Young wants to know who will be returning punts. Probably Richie James.
Maybe Scott can do it. Can you catch Scott?
I think it'll be Richie James.
I think it's going to be Richie James. Week, right? Yep. Probably with Darnay Holmes as a backup option. I would think. So
I know Richie James.
I see Joseph mentioned Isaiah Hodgins. He might be back too on a cheap deal. He's got his ties to the Bills. I wouldn't be surprised by that. As like a depth guy, not as a starter, but as a depth guy.
Okay. On the subject of punt returners, some people are saying, well, what about Gary Brightwell? Brightwell's never returned punts. And guys, it's very different returning punts versus returning kickoffs. The ball takes a different spin.
Yeah.
I've talked to several guys about this. So just because, Brightwell can return kickoffs, which, by the way, I wouldn't say he does exceptionally well, doesn't mean that he's going to be able to return punts. It's a totally, totally different spin.
Oh, yeah.
You have to get used to it. I talked to Holmes about it. I talked to Dory about it, and they said it is much harder to return a punt than a kickoff. So in college, it's a little easier because you got the white stripe on the ball, and it's easier to spot.
With a punt, you have a guy 2 feet away from hitting you. Like it's completely different, and the ball's dropping from the top rather than like more of like a line drive. It's just a completely different type of catch than fielding a kickoff is.
Yeah, so it's not just a matter of, okay, let's plug a guy. Ideally, you want to get a guy who could do both. Ideally.
Yeah.
They just haven't been able to do that. They just I don't know why, but look, at this point, I think Thomas McGahee would be just happy with somebody who could field it and not drop it and put it on the ground.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, let's see. Okay, let's see if we have any more questions because I know you guys gotta scoot. I think, Dog, you have the Lake. Do you have the Lakers tonight, Dog?
Chris and I have our show tonight.
Okay, so your
Yeah.
show's coming up. So I'm just looking real quick to see if we got anything else. If not, we will call it out. Let's see. I think we got everything.
We need a final score prediction.
Oh yeah, we've got to do that, and then I've got to do my exit thing. So,
I'd rather.
all right. Well, look, I mean, we've been talking earlier in the show about final score, so let's do it. I say the Giants lose, and I could see it being like 30, 31, 24.
Oh, I'm not going to be as nice as you.
Me neither.
How bad are you going to be?
I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's the Giants win, obviously, but I don't like the makings of this game, and I pray I'm wrong, and I look like an absolute fool tomorrow. 31-13 Cowboys.
Ooh, wow! You were predicting a blowout.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong too, and I'm kind of on the same page with Chris. The injuries, man. The loss to Detroit doesn't really bother me. It's not that we lost to Detroit. I'm thinking, everybody figured out the Giants. This is a divisional game. They want to beat the Cowboys. If they're ever going to get up for an opponent, it's going to be Dallas on Thanksgiving. I just think at the end of the day, losing all the players we lost, the talent is at the end of the day, the talent's just, we're not going to be able to keep up with these guys. And I saw what they did to us last time, and I saw what they just did to Minnesota. The only possible way we have, like I said, we win the turnover battle, and hopefully Dallas somehow overlooks a divisional opponent. I don't know who's next on Dallas' schedule. I think we lose 27-17, and I think it's because we get a cheap touchdown at the end. I think it'll be 27-10 late into the fourth quarter. We score a touchdown maybe with 3 minutes to go, and the final score looks closer than this. But this is a tough game. It sucks, and I'm hoping for a miracle. And God, I'd give anything to beat Dallas. It would be I can't imagine what it would do for the team. What it would do for if the fan base was ever going to be happy about something, like everybody in the fan base is going to be happy, it'd be beating
and then you'd have 10 days to celebrate.
Right.
I mean, and by the way, the Cowboys have the Colts after the Giants. They got the Colts, the Texans, the Jaguars, and then they face the Eagles and the Titans, and then the Commanders.
Dallas might not lose another game the rest of the year.
Yeah.
They ain't overlooking us. I wish they played the Eagles after us.
Dallas is dangerous. Dallas is dangerous because they have a their team is so similar to last year's 49er team. They're very similar to that team. Their defense has reached another level. They have a great defensive line. They have a strong
two good running backs.
Two good running backs. Very similar. I think the two best teams in the NFC are actually the 49ers and the Cowboys. I think the Eagles are behind both those teams.
And I know it pains you to say that.
Sucks. It sucks to say that, but Dallas is good. The one good thing we have about Dallas is they usually are one of the best teams in the NFC, and they really don't go anywhere. So let's just hope that happens. Listen, Giants fans, let's just make the playoffs. Right? If we lose tomorrow, it's going to suck. It's going to suck if we lose tomorrow. It always sucks when you lose to Dallas. That sucks. It sucks when you lose to Philadelphia. But if we lose, okay. Hopefully we make the playoffs and we can meet up with them, and then we can pay them back like we did in 2007 when they walloped us twice in 2007.
And they got cocky that year.
And then Jerry bought the tickets for everybody. Oh, and then we went in there, and Tom Collins says, don't tell anybody. Jerry just sent over the tickets. So let's do that.
Then you had Terrell Owens. That's my quarterback.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, not the end of the world. This is going to be an extremely tough game, and I don't expect to win. Doesn't mean we can't, but it ain't the end of the world if we lose. So
just get 3 more wins. Give yourself a good chance.
Yeah, just get healthy, and I think we can
get healthy. Yes. Yeah. Oh gosh, the big if, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. As always, fantastic show. Before we say goodbye, want to wish everybody out there a very happy Thanksgiving. Thankful for everybody who tunes into the LockedOn Giants podcast, and also who reads with me over on Giants Country. I really appreciate you. Appreciate you, Dog. Appreciate you, Taina.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Hope you guys have a enjoyable Thanksgiving. Taina, don't overdo it. be control, man, and dog. I know you're going to have that your face in your pie. So
No, that's Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. Okay,
But
that's what
I will have a nice cold adult beverage with the chat.
So will I.
I will go that far to have one adult beverage with the chat. Depending how the game goes, it might be more than one. We'll see.
Don't go crazy now.
No.
It's funny because my brother's having liquor too, and he says,
beer. It'll be a beer.
I forget what he said he's having, but he says, "Don't worry, that'll take care of you." He says, "You won't be." He says, "By the time you get home, you'll be asleep." So I'm like, "Oh, my baby, maybe I better not drink because I don't drink on game days." But anyway, should be. Let's hope it's for a good game, and let's hope no more injuries, please, please. All right, everybody. For Dog and Taina, I'm Patricia Traina. Thank you for tuning in to the Locked On Giants podcast live. And we will see you probably, it's 7. Okay. We will see you next week, everybody. Have a great one and be safe.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.